Siberius, and we about to get serious. It's the real Siberius, making fanboys furious.
Welcome everybody to the Wednesday live stream with AOH Sports and Fitness Rants and Speam. Welcome to everybody in the chat. Robin, go ahead and give them a shout out.
Yes, absolutely. Once again, man, it's great to be back on a Wednesday live. I'm on vacation, as you guys know, but I still gonna show up and do the show with my people. AOH, the Czar of video footage, the real Siberius, and my man Speed Engine in the house. Once again, man, shout out to everybody that comes through to support our live shows, to support our channels. I see my man Dakota Lareed out there. Shout out to you, man, for coming through. I see Lynetta out there as always. Someone's got a new member, Eric Asher. So shout out to you, or Eric Razier. I probably jacked your name all up, but thank you for becoming a member. Shout out to Mountain Skies for coming through. Emma Hunter, Stevie, Anthony Sanchez, Millhouse Nevermind. Once again, Madam Denise. I think I jacked that one all up, man. Jesus Herrera. Shout out to you. Callie Young, Michael Gill, Lion Tamer, 3D. Once again, man, I am truly humble for all you guys coming through. David Young Senior, you guys know the deal, man. New foe. Let's roll.
Your little studio on the go looks pretty darn good.
It's not bad, man. I just bought my jerseys and hung them up on the hangers. You know, we try to make something in the background.
I like it. All right, so let's just jump right into this because we got a lot of topics to cover. Let's go ahead and start with your soundbite, AOH. So I'll go ahead and start it. And like I said, I believe that you should be able to pause and play on your end. But go ahead and give it a try. If it doesn't work, just feel free to shout out and I'll take care of it.
Okay.
The last 3 games with a broken hand, so.
You know, my ankle was the only thing that was kind of bothering me. Well, obviously bothered me in the later stage of the season.
I tore a tendon in my foot. Went to the LeBron James with feet. But we was just hit with injuries after injuries after injuries, and it's hard to come back from that.
Even if we would have won game, at 5 at home, I would have probably missed 6 and 7.
Yeah.
And even further. But
I don't understand what's going on in the replay center, to be honest. I think I said it this year or last year, whatever. D'Lo clearly gets hit in the face on a drive. It doesn't make sense to me. It makes no sense to me. It bothers me.
Don't you get tired of this shit?
Ron said that when they put together the quote-unquote super team, it was a lot tougher on them than what you guys are going through. Do you believe that?
What does it matter? We just want a cookie for it? I mean, what is it?
Well, it seems like you did.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay. I'm hitting pause. I usually let his music play because it's so good, but I always forget what I wanted to talk about. This is Uncommon Sense adding edits to his intros. And God, there's a lot. That's only a portion of LeBron's interview excuses. Oh, and it's already still way too many. And can you guys remind me what that exchange was where LeBron was saying it's hard to go through super team building compared to what Kobe was going through? It took me a long time to realize they were actually playing at the same time when that was being asked. What is that in reference to? LeBron was complaining about the difficulty of being on a super team?
Yeah, that they had it harder than Kobe did with
what was Kobe's stage? Like just learning with a new team, bringing Pau over. Jesus Christ! God damn.
Well, you know what I thought about in the first clip that I saw, and when LeBron James was talking about, the cast on the hand, and he said, I basically played with a broken hand, and through these games. I just did a recent video on Jalen Brunson and Jalen Brunson's surgery that he had on his wrist after the NBA Finals concluded. And during the video, I talked about how no one ever heard about Jalen Brunson's wrist. No one heard about this stuff. He never came after game 5 and was like, yo, guys, I won the championship on a broke wrist. So, he didn't come to the post-game press conference with his thing all wrapped up looking for excuses or looking for people to give a bunch of sympathy and say, hey, look what Jalen Brunson just did. He went and got the surgery after the series. No one talked about the injury, and he dealt with it the entire series. And in fact, LeBron James got no surgery on that quote-unquote broken hand after the series. No surgery, nothing required. Same thing as the foot. Remember, he was supposed to get surgery on the foot. Never got surgery. Jalen Brunson actually got surgery on something that was bothering him in his shooting hand. We all know that Jalen Brunson's game is predicated on his shooting ability, and his wrist was dealing with significant pain, they said, in his shooting hand. Every time he went into his shooting motion, the tendon was rubbing against the bone. Did Jalen Brunson make any excuses? And he actually performed on that wrist.
You know, it's funny. LeBron's game does not depend on his shooting ability. And he still complained more. But one more thing. Neither case is the appropriate time to bring up an injury. But if you've won, it's better than if you lost and then bring up an excuse. Like, I would have accepted it more if Brunson had mentioned it, but we had to learn about it via the surgery, which legitimizes it. And it's interesting how everybody makes peace with the fact that we never have proof for anything of LeBron James, anything. But with other players, we actually know who contacted them. We actually know what the offer on the table is. We actually know what the injury was and when the surgery was and what the status of recovery was. We have, with LeBron James, it's fine that there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever. We'll just roll with it.
Not only that, AOH, there's no follow-up after the fact. Everyone just hears him say, I got hurt, and then the next season comes by, and it's never brought up again. I think, Robin, you brought up the foot. That's the most glaring example of no follow-up from the media, no follow-up from any medical professionals. Supposedly this man spends $7.6 billion a year on his body, right? So you would think that there would be there's a medical professional that has a commentary about what happens in movies. And in the news, you'd think that they would have something to say about this Iron Man RoboCop prototype that LeBron James is. But, he mentions a foot injury. He says he'll work it out amongst him and his team. And then you never hear about it again until he starts to play like crap again. And then now all of a sudden, it's flaring up. My team and my family, we have to sit down in a circle around a campfire and talk about my future. It's never brought up again until he starts to fail.
Let's talk about journalism.
That's exactly what it is.
Is it too much? I'm sorry, Sabir. So I'll just get this out and then I'll shut up. Is it too much for a journalist to say back what absolutely everybody was thinking? What the fuck is a LeBron James a feat? It's a logical question. Like, no one didn't have that thought in their mind. Right. And your job as a journalist, and you can't say, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Did you repeat that? What do you mean?
What?
Well, and the pause between when he said the LeBron James of and feet.
He couldn't even get the lie out smoothly.
Well, he had to remember it was his foot that was bothering him.
Right.
You would think the only significant injury he would face would be to like a shoulder or an elbow or something like that, something he consistently uses within his game. Like, if he broke his elbow, I could see that being a significant injury, right? Like, how are you going to elbow somebody in the neck if you have, if your arm's hurt? But if his foot hurts, all right, cool. He doesn't move. What's the difference?
Well, I always thought the LeBron James of feet was an interesting comment because he continuously has issues with his fucking feet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So in other words, the
LeBron James of feet, because the problem has not been resolved. It's an ongoing issue. Or, the reality is we know it's not an issue. It's just an excuse that comes up, that's readily available when he needs it.
The LeBron James of feet is as bad as the LeBron James of basketball.
Shout out to Observe Natural Evolution, by the way. I was going to talk about that. I don't want to talk about the grown man's feet very often, but they do look like some kind of monster's foot. So him saying that is kind of counterintuitive. So shout out to Observe Natural Evolution for that comment. Because he has toes all up and down his foot. It's weird.
And remember, it's about the promotion and the excuses. Because if you remember, when they were eliminated from the postseason that year, Kendrick Perkins came on ESPN and right away said, hey, LeBron James played on a broken foot. exaggerate the injuries and let you know what LeBron James is playing with, when the great players in NBA's history never let you know that they were injured. You found out later on after the fact, like you just mentioned, AOH, we found out about Jalen Brunson's surgery because he got surgery. So you found out he had to get surgery for a certain situation that was going on in his wrist that was hindering him and causing him a lot of pain. But there were no excuses for Jalen Brunson. He continued to play and did not let people know about this. If you remember going back to that wrist thing, or the hand for LeBron James, if you remember, the articles were saying that LeBron James was trying to keep the injury a secret from the Warriors, because he was saying that the Warriors were going to use the hand injury against him on the basketball court, which is corny and cheesy as hell, because if you really felt that way, then why would you then wear the cast at the end of the series after you lost? And we all know the answer to that, because you needed an excuse. So you use the injury as an excuse, right? To be like, hey, this is why I lost. This is why I couldn't do X, Y, Z. Meanwhile, when you watch the series, you saw LeBron James banging his hand all over the place. You saw LeBron James slamming his hand on the ground. You saw LeBron James doing all his corny handshakes on the bad hand. So your hand's fine to do all that stuff, but your hand was not good enough, and it was so hurt and so bad you felt the need to wrap it up in something. But if it really was injured, then why have you not gotten surgery? Also, does anyone promote Jalen Brunson as the Wolverine of basketball? Does anyone promote Jalen Brunson as some unstoppable freight train locomotive that is tough as hell and durable and playing all these scenes? No one promotes Jalen Brunson that way, but yet he seems to be tougher mentally and physically than LeBron James.
When did you guys find out that Ron Artest had cracked Michael Jordan's rib?
From Ron Artest.
Way later, right?
Way later, when he was telling a story.
Yeah. And we didn't hear about Michael Jordan at age 40 playing with a cracked rib. We didn't hear any of that shit.
Can let me pose a question to you guys in the chat. Kobe shooting free throws after a torn Achilles is an all-time moment. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Well,
is that okay?
Yeah, except that Clay did it.
Okay. Oh, that's fair. You're right. The reason I ask is because I'm really surprised we haven't seen LeBron try to emulate that moment by getting quote unquote by getting his version of an injury, which is just someone talking meanly to him, but then getting up and then shooting free throws and being very performative about it. I'm kind of shocked we haven't seen that yet. I still
We saw the
think
exact opposite. We saw the exact opposite.
Go ahead and tell me when that took place.
We saw. I used
every time.
I used the Kobe Bryant and Klay Thompson examples to make fun of this. LeBron James got wrapped up by Desmond Bain trying to go to the layup instead of just letting him have the dunk, which is what you should do. And then LeBron immediately started limping. And when he went to the free throw line, and he missed both free throws, of course. The announcers are sitting there saying, "Oh well, his mind is on his foot." It's like, come on, man. Kobe shot it with a torn Achilles. Clay shot it with a torn Achilles. LeBron fakes something that went away as soon as the free throws were over with. But for this guy, we're okay with announcers making excuses for missing free throws.
Right. And listen, man, NBA basketball players, professional athletes in general, they deal with hurt. They deal with pain. A lot of these guys, it's never easy playing sports. Sports is brutal on your body. That's why these guys don't last long, especially in certain sports. You don't last long at all. But when you talk about LeBron James, again, it's the promotion of his durability, the toughness of him. He has the quick healing ability, and also he has access to the best doctors in the world. And yet still LeBron James continues to make and use these excuses for his career. When we talk about someone like Michael Jordan, or someone like a Kobe Bryant, we talk about pain and the pain threshold, playing through stuff. All of these guys have played through things and never made excuses. So I saw someone in the chat mention the 1991 NBA Finals when Michael Jordan had a severely jammed toe. And if you remember, he hurt his toe in the series, and he was in so much pain, in fact, that he tried to play a game with his sneaker split down the middle. We've talked about this before. So that's not Michael Jordan looking for sympathy or anything like that. That's him trying to play through a situation and finding any way he could. And it was in so much pain, he tried that out. But if you guys remember that game, it only lasted for like a quarter. And he went back to a regular sneaker and decided to just play through the pain in all of those games. And no one made excuses. But what do you hear now? Hey, well, James Worthy missed one of those games, and Byron Scott was hurt. And So Michael Jordan wasn't hurt. Horace Grant was dealing with something that's in that series. Players are always dealing with things, man. Someone like LeBron James will always try to come up with something that you cannot quantify. There's nothing that you can look at. Yes, that's why, like you said, there are no surgeries happening. How many surgeries has LeBron James had in his career? But yet and still they talk to you about all these pains and all these things he's dealing with, but he's never getting any surgeries. How can you say that I need surgery on this foot? It requires surgery, but you never got the surgery. It doesn't make any sense. So this is why no one respects, no one really trusts anything LeBron James says, and no one believes any of these injuries.
Robin, let me just correct you really quickly, because he did have surgery. He did have a hair transplant. So we want to be accurate. We want to, in the spirit of being truthful,
so petty,
he did have several hair transplants. So let's just be accurate.
I want you guys to remember, if you go back to the 91 finals, and again, I don't like comparing LeBron James and Michael Jordan in every single aspect of their careers, but if you watch the games in the 91 finals, you will clearly see Michael Jordan limping after certain things that he does. For example, he goes up for a dunk. He dunks the ball, gets fouled, and when he comes down, he tries to land on the other foot. You see him literally hop on one leg because landing on that other foot creates a lot of pain. So there were many instances where Michael Jordan had to make adjustments during the game to deal with the pain. There were no excuses. If the Bulls would have lost that series, nobody would have cried and moaned for Michael Jordan. Nobody would say, like, Michael Jordan was playing on one foot necessarily. Think about the Washington Wizards reports that you talked about AOH. When do we hear about Michael Jordan's knee being drained of black goo? We heard that from the teammates years later. Guys like Etan Thompson, guys like Brendan Hayward, telling these stories of Michael Jordan. Them saying to Michael Jordan, dude, why are you doing this? Why are you even playing through it? They're literally asking Michael Jordan, dude, what are you doing here? Why are you doing this to yourself? And Michael Jordan told them, I'm playing for the love of the game, man. I'm going out there because people expect me to be there. I'm showing up for the people. That's what Michael Jordan always did. That's why I always continue to tell you guys, this man don't owe me nothing. He went out there and laid it on the line, and those are the stories and the examples that they give to you about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan didn't come out and say, yeah, man, I was playing, draining my knee and all this stuff. No, they told you what Michael Jordan was dealing with.
And if he had an injury, you know what they would say? Well, come back tougher next season. Work hard in the off season.
You think Michael Jordan wasn't dealing with pain going against the bad boy Pistons? You think Michael Jordan wasn't dealing with pain going against the New York Knicks all those years? He absolutely was dealing with pain. I'll never forget Michael Jordan's face in the post-game press conference of the 1998 Eastern Conference Finals when he's all bruised up. He's got the Band-Aid on the eye. The man looks like he's swole up all over the place. And they ask him about, going back for Game 7. And Michael Jordan ain't making no excuses. Yeah, man, they're pulling me in my jersey. They're running me off these hard screens. Reggie Miller's two-hand shoving me and the refs ain't calling it. Imagine if that was LeBron James that got two-hand shoved by Reggie Miller. He's on the microphone talking about, yeah, D-Lo got fouled. I don't even know what. Imagine that was LeBron James got two-hand shoved like that. He'd have been up in arms in the post-game press conference. They ain't calling no foul. Reggie just two-hand shoved me. I don't even know what to say to this stuff.
Let me give, I'll let you do it, but don't miss M. Hunter Stevie, who gave me a super, and I appreciate it, sir.
Absolutely.
And he was on it before we even said it, so it's really kind of like redundant, but he said, Robin, LeBron didn't need surgery on his foot. He saw the LeBron James of feet, and we all know he's never had any foot problems ever since then. Or someone else said in the comments, wait a minute, the LeBron James of feet airballs free throws? Thank you, M. Hunter.
Why do you say that? Because you guys were talking earlier about how LeBron James tries to, he tries to emulate, some of the great players, things that they say, right? He tries to copy Michael Jordan's chalk toss, right? He wears the number, but you don't really play the game with the same level of intensity, the same level of integrity, right? The same level of love that someone like Michael Jordan played with, someone like Kobe Bryant played with, these guys that were going to go out there and lay it on the line. LeBron James ain't laying it on the line. He's rolling around on the floor. He's wasting time. He's crying and moaning for nothing. He's yelling at the referees and not getting any technical fouls. All these things are happening on the basketball court, but they keep trying to tell you how great LeBron James is and how close he is to the other great players and how similar their mindsets are and the toughness of these guys. It's not even close, guys. It's a night and day, man.
Well, so this is actually an excellent transition to one of the topics that I wanted to bring up. And this was the image that I created for my video. And it's the so-called greatest of all time doesn't have a team. It hasn't been days. It's been weeks. He was supposed to announce yesterday the team that he wanted to join. There are no teams.
Yep.
They keep saying he's, playing at a high level. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I said this on Sunday. Let's get a vote out of you guys right now so that we know where everyone stands. Which is it? Is he actually homeless, or did he already know a season ago where he was going? And this is all performative. This is everything from Rich Paul. It's all for the documentary. Well, we want to include that all 27 teams wanted LeBron James, but the reality is his manipulative ass already knew where he was going into this last season. Or do you really think that he's homeless?
I still maintain he's going to Miami. I think he's known that for a very long time. I think Giannis signing with them, giving him yet another generational big man, is exactly what he's looking for. I think this is all meant to manipulate the press, just like every season. He's as stupid as he is, and he is just dangerously stupid. He still has a team that calculates his moves. I still think he's going to Miami.
Okay, so that's one vote that he already has it planned, and this is all fake. Robin, what's your vote?
I don't even know what to say to this, really, because it's interesting that you bring up that LeBron James is trying to copy the Last Dance documentary. See, this goes back to what we talked about, how LeBron James is not original or authentic. There's no originality to this man. He has not one original bone in his. I mean, think about something as simple as his signature dunk. It's not original. It's a basic, boring tomahawk dunk. I told you, it's a cheap knockoff version of Karl Malone's dunk. That's really what you get. So for him to maybe be trying to do a Last Dance documentary, in my opinion, what seems to be going on here, what I think is going on, is I believe that LeBron James thought that he was going to be more like people were going to really be trying to get his services more than they actually are. I think that's what he thought. He was going to let the Lakers know, hey, I'm not coming back to the Lakers. And all of a sudden, the floodgates would open. Every team would be jumping and tripping over themselves to get LeBron James on their roster, right? We saw a bunch of tweets go out from different entities. Oh, LeBron James a free agent. Maybe we can get LeBron James to play here. But when you think about what you're hearing from some of these teams, I just saw a report from the Philadelphia Sixers that Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, and the newly acquired Jaylen Brown have all communicated with LeBron James, trying to get him to come to the city of Philadelphia and play for the Sixers next season. And people are actually saying that that could be the best destination for him to win a championship. But they also tell you LeBron James not playing for championships. He's playing for happiness, which we all know is BS.
Right. Yeah. Rich Paul all upset about Charles Barkley accusing LeBron of ring chasing. Oh, he ain't ring chasing. And yet out of your own mouth, you guys are saying, well, we're looking for the team that has the best chance to compete. We want to be part of a contending team. That is ring chasing.
Anyway, so I dare him to go to the Charlotte Hornets next year. I dare you to go to Charlotte Hornets next year and turn the franchise around. I double dog dare you.
Okay, real quick before we move forward, just to piggyback off Robin, your point really quickly. He's never wanted to play with young or developing players his entire career. This just further solidifies that. Robin, that's such a great point you made. He would never dare go to Charlotte or any team that requires any kind of build-up. That was, I just wanted to give you props for that. He never wants to play where you have to develop talent, yet he makes everybody better. How do you have two conflicting statements like that, just to your point, AOH?
Well, what are the consequences, though? Like, I don't want to give it away because I recorded an entire rant this morning, but when this becomes just a part of filming for the fake documentary about a fake career, are there going to be any consequences that we learn later on, just like we learned in Miami, that he knew all along he was going to Miami and he pretended that it was a last minute decision? and there weren't any consequences then for finding out that he lied, what are the consequences going to be when we find out that Rich Paul is going on every platform that he can, lying about they're still deciding what the best decision is, only for us to learn later on they've known this whole time? There aren't any
let's be real
consequences.
about Rich Paul here for a second, AOH, because Rich Paul is starting to understand. I think he's starting to see the end of his career in sight. Because when LeBron James stops playing basketball, who's Rich Paul then? Who is he? He's nobody without LeBron James being a current, active NBA basketball player. Once LeBron James is officially retired from the NBA, then Rich Paul's retired. He's done, man. No one's going to care about Rich Paul. He's not going to have anything to say, no cachet, right? So Rich
Ben
Paul
Simmons.
understands everything is attached to LeBron James. That's why he'll go out of his way, lie for LeBron James. He'll cheat, steal for LeBron James because he owes his entire existence to LeBron James, man. All right, so when LeBron James says, yeah, well, you know, my entourage, I made them go to school. I made them get their degrees, and I made these guys do all these things. Really, LeBron James, did you really? Because Rich Paul doesn't seem like educated a single bit to me. I've never heard this man say something profound. I've never heard him say something that I step back and I'm like, damn, you know what? I didn't think about it like that. Rich Paul is another guy who thinks he's smarter than he really is. And why is he like that? Because your homeboy, the guy who's the leader of your entourage, is LeBron James, a certified narcissist who thinks he knows everything everywhere he goes. Think about LeBron James in the offseason right now. And how all these teams, they're saying want LeBron James, but yet we haven't seen LeBron James be offered anything. Where's LeBron James going to go? I just saw a video from the basketball show. Shout out to my man over at the basketball show, Paul over at the basketball show. He did a video talking about how Michael Jordan was being recruited by the Lakers when he was coming back to the NBA for the 2002 season. Imagine Michael Jordan playing on the Lakers in 2002. You think he couldn't have gotten a cheap ring? Now, we all know that Michael Jordan came back, you know, for several reasons. We all know that he wanted to come back because he missed playing the game. We also know that Michael Jordan was forced into retirement after the 1998 season. So there was still an itch that he needed to scratch. But also, he had an agreement, and with the Washington Wizards ownership to become more invested in the ownership of Washington Wizards. So it was twofold for Michael Jordan. But if ring chasing was all Michael Jordan wanted to do, he could have easily came back and played for Lakers or any other franchises, because we know for a fact Michael Jordan would have been pursued if he was a free agent and would have been willing to come back and play for any team available for him. They would have been tripping over themselves to get Michael Jordan on their team.
Well, and the NBA has already started to ostracize Clutch. They went, PMR did a whole video about how the NBA voted against Clutchonomics and have essentially started driving it out of the league. So I think you're absolutely right, Robin. Once LeBron is no longer an active player with whatever cachet he has, Rich Paul isn't going to have a leg to stand on.
Yep.
The NBA
well, Siberius
anymore.
Yep.
That's not new though. Do you remember maybe about 7-8 years ago they tried to change the rules in order for you to be an agent, and that was directly related to Rich Paul, not because anything other than he was clearly in the locker rooms manipulating everything based on being LeBron James's quote unquote best friend. It had nothing to do with the color of his skin or his background or the fact that he sold jerseys out of his car or anything like that. It was that he was going in between the lines to get all these deals done. And when the NBA tried to do something about it, they immediately went and played the race card, which is something that they've been doing. That's a LeBron James. That's like the number one move in their playbook. So that's not going to change. The more they move to get them out of there, the more they're going to hammer down something that's not based in basketball.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, because that's all they have. I mean, I remember on one of PMR and my live streams, there was a fanboy in the comments, and we specifically asked them, name 5 things that LeBron has done for basketball. And everything that they named had nothing to do with basketball. They said, he's empowered players. He's got them money. He started the Promise School, which, I mean, I don't know if I'd be tying my name to that with its performance, but they did. They mentioned it. he's a great father. He's a great husband. They couldn't mention anything that he does on the court because nothing he's done on the court has been to build up it hasn't made basketball better.
No, you're right. You're right. That's a great point, Siberius. And that's what we've been alluding to in a lot of these live shows, a lot of our videos. LeBron James never doing anything to lift up the actual league. Everything he does is for himself. That's what it is. Whatever he gets from the game, not what he's giving back to the game. So you're absolutely on the money that you cannot name anything that if we go all the way back to the beginning, and we've talked about so many times, the slam dunk contest, that was so basic. That was so simple. That would have been you lifting up the game. That would have been something that we could point to. Yo, man, when LeBron James did that slam dunk contest, man, when we thought it was going to start fading away into existence, LeBron James helped keep it relevant. He couldn't even do something that simple. And I've told you guys, one of the reasons why that aggravates me that he never did it is because the men actually had the nerve to do 2 skills challenges. How do you do the skills challenge 2 times, but you don't do the slam dunk contest? And then what do they promote LeBron James as? One of the greatest dunkers in NBA's history.
But Robin, not even that. Just like everything else in his career, if he had kept his mouth shut and never talked about, I'm announcing myself for the next year's dunk contest, blah blah blah.
Yep.
If he had just shut up and dribbled, ironically, we wouldn't be talking about this right now. But
Remember
he's
Magic
the one who
Johnson
opened up his
offered to
big fat
pay
mouth.
money for him to do it?
Yeah.
Magic freaking
Right.
Johnson, the same guy who years later said, can LeBron James stop Jason Terry?
He put that pressure on himself, just like he did in Miami, talking about not 6, not 7, not 8. He's the one who he does this to himself. That's the crux of this entire thing. Literally, if he did just play basketball and just shut up, we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation. But we have to hear about this from him and his camp at the beginning of every business day. That's why we do what we do.
LeBron James, he copied Michael Jordan's closed-eye free throws. You guys remember when he chose the closed-eye free throw? But yet and still, you won't copy anything else the way Michael Jordan really goes about playing the actual game. When I hear LeBron James say, I watched Michael Jordan growing up. He was an idol of mine. I love Michael Jordan, this and that. When you hear him say that and then you watch his actions over his career, it's a complete contradiction of what Michael Jordan would have done. If you remember years ago, they used to have these bracelets that people were wearing, and it was set up WW like Jesus or whatever. What would Jesus do? Right? And everybody was wearing these wristbands. What would Jesus do? What would Michael Jordan do, LeBron James? That's what you should have been thinking throughout your career. Whenever you came to a fork in the road and you had to make a decision, like in 2010, you should have sat down with your team and said, what would Michael Jordan do here, guys? What do you think Michael Jordan would have done? And I've told people before, I don't have a problem with LeBron James leaving Cleveland in 2010. I have a problem with where he went. That's what it was. You could have went to a bunch of other teams that would have liked to have you there. I did a video a couple of weeks back about that dude, Timothy Chalamet, right? The actor. He grew up in New York City. And I did a video talking about how when he got some money from child acting, he said he got a check. The first thing he did was went and bought season tickets for the Knicks. And the reason he said he did that is because he thought LeBron James was going there.
That's
so again,
terrible.
LeBron James had let down the fans many, many times throughout his career, and he continues to act in a complete opposite way of someone like a Michael Jordan would have ever acted. But then you wear his number and talk about how much you loved Michael Jordan, watched him growing up.
Shameful. That's not a good reason to go buy your first Knicks tickets. Shame on him. He should have bought them
But
before
think
that.
about the time, Airways. Think about when that was. This is before the decision. This is before he went to Miami. If he would have made that move and went to the Knicks, LeBron James would have a lot more respect today than he does now. If you went to the Knicks, again, I don't care if you leave Cleveland. You want to leave Cleveland, fine. When you went to a team with a champion from your own draft class and you didn't even go there alone, you had to bring other guys with you. And now all these years later, you continue to make excuses instead of taking on the chin and saying, the time in Miami could have been better. Nope, I'm surrounded by minimum guys. And you're making up all these excuses, man. It's really lame as hell for people to still say and celebrate LeBron James, as if he did not make these kinds of moves. It's like they want us to forget about this stuff.
I want to read MJ Burke comment. He said, Wizards tickets were also bottom feeders. They immediately sold out home and away games thanks to Michael Jordan. Now, that's great context when you hear these stupid LeBron people say that LeBron saved LA. People were buying LA tickets. LA will never ever need saving. Well, it might now. Because of what LeBron James did to LA, they might have to recover. But those dark.
That's a great point. And that was a great comment because I actually looked into that and I was actually going to do a video on that some months back about how the Wizards were one of the worst, franchises for attendance. The worst. As soon as Michael Jordan that's what Michael Jordan does. That was the reason why. And that was part of the agreement of Michael Jordan when he agreed to come back to the Wizards. It was to put people in the seats. And people came to watch the freaking Wizards, guys. The Wizards were a mediocre to terrible basketball team those 2 seasons. Not because of Michael Jordan or not because of Michael Jordan. Just because of the overall personnel they had. They didn't have a great team on the Wizards. And they were still going to watch the games. Everybody wanted to see Michael Jordan play because Michael Jordan played the game the right way. Right? He did things. He hustled on the basketball court. You never watched Michael Jordan on the Wizards, who was dealing with a lot of pain, dealing with a lot of stuff. You never saw him walking around. You never saw him like this all game long. We never saw him pointing at Rip Hamilton or blaming Jerry Stackhouse or blaming Christian Laettner or blaming Brendan Hayward or some of these other guys. And Michael Jordan never played with an Anthony Davis, never played with a Luka Doncic. He never played with an Austin Reeves even. At that point in time in his career. But all these years later, they compare LeBron James in LA at 40 years old to Michael Jordan on the Wizards at 40 years old. It's not comparable. Michael Jordan gave max effort way more often than LeBron James ever did. Michael Jordan, I dared LeBron James to play 82 games when he turned 40 years old. Did he play the 82 games? Not even close. I told you. The 37 minutes a night that Michael Jordan played on the Wizards that final season, 82 games a night, would have been good enough for second in the league this year. Second. That's insane.
Robin, also, not to mention, because we were all alive when it happened, even though the Wizards, they're not championship material, they were contending. Michael Jordan was contending with Kwame Brown and Popeye Jones as his big men at 40 years old, going up and down the court playing 82
I think they
games.
make the playoffs.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Had he not gotten hurt, they're at least the 6 or 7 seed. I remember that clearly. But to your point, Robin, he wasn't there for anything other than to uplift the game of basketball. That's it.
And let me re-quote Rick Buchers saying that declarations are confessions. When they tell you that LeBron saved the Lakers, that is a confession that the Lakers saved LeBron. You can actually look at what Jordan did for the Wizards and make an argument that he saved them. He at least helped them a lot. But this idea that LeBron saved the Lakers is offensive in addition to inaccurate.
As soon as Michael Jordan left, the attendance went back down. All right? Because that's the Michael Jordan effect, man. It was never going to be as high as it was. They had the #1 attendance when the freaking Wizards, when Michael Jordan was there, guys. Think about what Rip Hamilton talked about to this day that Michael Jordan did. Just in Rip Hamilton played 1 season with Michael Jordan, guys. And it wasn't even a full season because he dealt with some injuries that year, Rip Hamilton. We all know that Michael Jordan did not finish the season. He played, 60-some games that year. So not even 1 full season with Jordan. And he learned so much he got from Michael Jordan. You name me a player that's talked about LeBron James like that, a young player like Rip Hamilton was. He said that helped him become a champion. The things he watched Michael Jordan do, it wasn't about just Michael Jordan talking to him and teaching him the game. He watched Michael Jordan in practice every day, he said. He watched and studied his habits, the things he did day in and day out to prepare himself for the game. And that's what he took to the Detroit Pistons. You never hear anyone else talk about LeBron James and the things he did for them and helped them develop. He never did this stuff. So why would LeBron James now, all these years later, have all these teams as options to go to? Because a lot of these teams that they're talking about, this thing about the Philadelphia Sixers, for example, Jaylen Brown's a young player, Tyrese Maxey, a young player in the league still. These guys have talent. Joel Embiid's on and off. He's not going to be reliable for you down the road. But if you think about those 2 players, you're going to sit there and tell me that LeBron James actually going to help Tyrese Maxey in the basketball court? No, he's not. Tyrese Maxey going to have to adjust his game plan with LeBron James. Jaylen Brown got to adjust his game plan with LeBron James. You think Joel Embiid's going to be able to play his game with LeBron James on the basketball court? The only way that something like that could possibly work is if LeBron James comes off the bench and is playing 15 to 20 minutes a night. I've been saying this for years, man. He's got to sacrifice.
Well,
according to him, he already did.
The game.
I was going to say he's already sacrificed. He barely sees his kids, Robin. What more do you want?
Well, I was going to bring that up because I wrote down some stuff here about LeBron James this offseason. And LeBron James continues to talk about the sacrifices he makes for his family, the time that he misses with his family. But yet every offseason comes and LeBron James is here, he's there, he's everywhere but home.
I said on
in
Sunday
one of my videos that if the PED allegations for LeBron ever come true, his sentence should be going home, spending time with his family. Because it's the one thing he doesn't want to do.
Yep.
That would be like going to prison. He avoids it at all costs.
I'm telling you, I did talk in my video the other day, and I talked about how I've known people at jobs. People have worked jobs for 20, 25, 30 years, and they refuse to retire. And you know what these guys have told me? Grown-ass men who are in their 50s, their 60s, who have worked these jobs, hard jobs, for all these years. Do you know why they won't retire? They don't want to go home to their wives. They've told me this. So you have grown men out there who have been in marriages for 20 plus years, have worked these jobs that are killing them. They're literally losing money working these jobs all these years. They don't want to go home because they don't want to go home with their wife. They tell me this stuff, guys. Yeah, man, I don't know what to do with my wife. We're going to sit there and not talk about nothing. There are guys in relationships like that. So when you have LeBron James, who's a billionaire, one of the most famous people in the world, there's no reason for him to be playing basketball still. What I'm getting from it, he don't want to go home. He don't want to be home with his wife. If you have all these time, or you complain about you're missing all this time, then when you got time, wouldn't you want to spend it with your wife, who in fact called you the GOAT?
When you couldn't join Sunday, I made sure to point out to everybody listening that you were on vacation and you actually took your family with you, unlike LeBron.
One thing I will say is it would be interesting to see that if he goes to Philly, with as much as Embiid flops around, assuming he plays, I don't know, 50 games, right? As much as he flops around, if the Sixers free throw differential goes up like the Lakers did, I think to me, it's like, okay, well, now you're just putting more proof in the pudding that it's clear that the league is still in his pocket. So the one positive to him going to the Sixers is if you do see a team that flops that much, let me just put it in that context. If a team that flops that much, if their free throw differential goes up like how the Lakers did, then to me, it's like, okay, well, here's more proof that you need to investigate what's happening. I'm not saying that it will, but here's further proof. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, in the 8 years that LeBron was with the Lakers, PMR did the math on it, and wearing a Lakers jersey gets you 53 free throws per season. Just for wearing the jersey. It doesn't matter who you are. You don't have to be Luka. You don't have to be Austin Reeves. You don't have to be LeBron. Just wearing that jersey. So I think if he does go to the Sixers, the Cavaliers, the Heat, whatever, they are going to inherit that free throw discrepancy.
Right. That's so true. That's a great point. And I wanted to hit on what I just mentioned about the wife thing and going home to your family or your wife, your significant other. The point that I want to make here, it's not that relationships are not hard and that, I understand this stuff. Those guys that I'm telling you about that have told me these things in my face, they're not talking and bragging about missing time with their family and then not going home. LeBron James talks about how much he misses his family. That's what makes it weird and really cringe to me. If you really do miss your family that much, you missed all this time. You want to get this time and spend this time with your family. Every chance you get to do this, you don't do it. That's why I'm saying you obviously don't really want to be there with your wife. The other guys that I mentioned, they've never told me, I miss all the time with my family, man. And then they don't go home. They just don't want to go home. That's what I get from LeBron James. So I wrote down a couple of things real quick. Some of the things that LeBron James has going on his schedule just this week alone. Now, we all know he's been making public appearances all over the place. This is what he continues to do. I never see his wife with him, never see his kids with him on that podcast. So LeBron James will be at Fanatics Fest at the Jacob Javits Center in New York coming up this week. LeBron James will also be going to a Game Plan Business and Sports Summit this week. He's also going to be doing a live taping of Mind the Game with Tyrese Halliburton. He's also going to be going to the Time 100 Gala for Athlete of the Century. Also doing another live episode of The Shop. This is all going on this week for LeBron James. But yet still, I miss time with my family.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a guy that's looking for happiness. That that sounds like a guy who's looking for relevance, attention.
That's right.
Well,
That's what it is.
you know what? Also, Siberius, you know, I don't think I have a male friend in my circle that hasn't done that thing where they just sit out in their car, you know, for 45 minutes to an hour before they go inside because they don't want to deal with X, Y, and Z. Like, that's just a normal human thing that you go through. I think when you're consistently talking about how badly you do want to go home or be with your family, you know, to Robin's point, you're overcompensating. You know, life isn't so black and white like that. Like most men just need a break from something. And for him to consistently talk about how bad he misses these things that he very clearly has open access to as a top 1% earner on the planet, is a slap in the face to people who maybe obviously don't have it so simple.
Right.
Well, and it's just being disingenuous like he is about everything. It's say one thing, do another. And
exactly. Say one thing and do another. LeBron James' entire career is one big contradiction. And a lot of the people that promote LeBron James are hypocrites. Right? They promote this stuff for LeBron James, but they don't promote it for other players. Like we've mentioned Steph Curry many times on these live shows and how Steph Curry is the complete opposite of LeBron James. They never promote Steph Curry as needing more help. Right? You never hear them say, oh, what's the Golden State Warriors going to do for Steph Curry? He needs more help. They got to get him more help. They're not doing anything for Steph Curry. But everywhere LeBron James goes, the general manager's not doing enough. The organization's not doing enough. They're letting down LeBron. Remember when they were reporting that the Lakers are, quote unquote, wasting LeBron James' years? They're wasting his years?
Oh, yeah.
What have the Warriors done to Steph Curry?
But Robin, speaking of Steph Curry, you think that man wants to go back inside his mansion every night? He's going through it seriously. His wife is consistently putting him through the ringer. You think he just wants to come right home, marching in, you know, shopping bags in hand? I promise you, he sits outside his house overthinking everything as any other man would. But we don't hear about it ever. Like, that's the point. Because it's regular life stuff that we all go through. You don't have to glamorize it. You don't have to, you know, dramatize it. It's just a thing that we do. Not everybody has to get, you know, he doesn't have to get first place award for wants to see his family the most. You know what I mean? That's not a patch that he needs on his jersey. It's disgusting.
That's right, the jersey patches.
Robin, you made an excellent point because I personally, I don't like Steph Curry. He's very Isaiah Thomas to me in that he pretends to be one thing and it's very much another behind closed doors. However, I don't know that that's just me making assumptions. However, they have done nothing to help him. He could have far more than 4 rings if they offered him any type of assistance. They just keep hanging on to Draymond, God knows why. They keep hanging on to Kerr, God knows why. And his talent is being wasted. That's one thing that I have to say. Despite how I feel about Curry, he is incredibly talented. He's absolutely more talented than LeBron. He should have been the face of the league over LeBron. He's dominated LeBron's era more than LeBron has. And what has he gotten for it?
Siberius, you bring up a good point real quick, Robin, because Stephen Curry was originally a Nike signed signature athlete, but Nike botched a presentation on a re-signing for him, and he ended up going to Under Armour. I still believe to this day, if Steph Curry had remained a Nike athlete, he would be the face of the league, and the league would be in a much better space because there's no conversation as to whether or not he's more skilled than LeBron James. It's not even like there's no debate, and I wouldn't even waste my time debating that to anybody, right? But the fact that he went to Under Armour as a result of Nike, they kind of dropped the ball. It's deeper than just the basketball piece of it, because I feel like I bring this up every week. If you sit down and you watch a Steph Curry highlight reel, and you sit down and you watch a LeBron James, offensive tackle reel, which looks better for basketball?
Not even close, Bean. Not even close.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
shout
think
out to Robin for having that list of events ready to go. That was all about LeBron James. It's all self-glorification. And look,
Exactly.
if you want to credit fanboys, if you guys want to credit him as a businessman or whatever, I get it. But he doesn't simultaneously get to complain about not spending time with his family.
Right.
No, you don't get to have it both ways. Real quick, I want to get to some of these supers before we get too far behind. Mr. Shanny 82. Mr. Shanny, thanks for showing up like you always do. LeBron Simmons is old. He should have been out of the game years ago, but he can't stay home because he hates his wife. I think he's quoting from Liar Liar.
Yup. That's yo, shout out to Mr. Shanny.
Thank you, Mr. Shanny.
Okay, Johnny Mac 23. LeBron has become the Hulk Hogan of the NBA, but worse. He believes no one should have the spotlight but him. Plus, he secretly hates his own race.
Absolutely, 1,000%. 1,000%.
Hey, at least Hulk Hogan actually lifted up the WWE. He actually lifted up WCW. He actually added to those entities, Hulk Hogan. LeBron James, like I said, Beerus mentioned earlier, you can't name anything that he's done to lift up the NBA. Really nothing.
There's not one thing.
Nope, not one thing. It's really sad.
Hulk Hogan?
It's sad that you think about how the offseason has gone so far, and everyone continues to talk about where LeBron James is going to go. And the sad reality is that every offseason, this is what they talk about because they know LeBron James is not a loyal player. He's not going to, let you know what's going on. He's got to keep everything a secret and try to, finagle his own way around this. It's disgusting. Like I said, when you hear that Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, and Jaylen Brown are actually trying to recruit him. I actually just did a video the other day about Luke Cornett, and he posted a video, whether it was joking in nature or not, but he posted a video really recruiting LeBron James to the San Antonio Spurs. And the reason why it was cringe to me and stupid is because LeBron James literally just trashed the city of San Antonio. He literally just said there's nothing to do in this city. I don't want to go there. I don't want to play there. There's nothing to do there. And then Luke Cornett comes out weeks later and is like, hey, LeBron, come play for San Antonio. We have tax-free here. And we have all these things to do. He's trying to tell LeBron James about the city of San Antonio, but LeBron James already trashed y'all city. And this city elbowed this man.
He's making his own phone hot. See, it's not just me.
Elbowed that man all in his grill, dunked on him, and yelled in his face. That's what he did. Did Luke Cornett flop to the floor? Did Luke Cornett cry and moan? Did he get in LeBron James' face? No, he didn't. He took it in stride. But this is what LeBron James does. If that would have been the opposite way, then we know LeBron James would have threw himself on the ground. He'd be rolling around, and he would have wanted Luke Cornett ejected from the NBA.
Luke Cornett's not signed to Clutch, is he?
I don't know, but there's a corny-ass post that he put out there. I talked about it in my video.
Spurs should immediately get rid of him.
Cornette said that if you want to stay in my guest house, the door is open. He would let LeBron James stay in his guest house?
That's a weird thing to say to a stranger.
You think LeBron James, a billionaire, needs your guest house?
Luke Cornett wanted to get rid of stripper night in Atlanta. That's why we don't listen to him. We can move past it.
But
LeBron
then
will have to
to sell your integrity to try to get LeBron James and give a video to get LeBron James to recruit this man. Even Steph Curry,
get rid of him.
I saw he was at some golf tournament or something, and they put Steph Curry on the spot, and they asked him about playing with LeBron James.
No, we already did this topic. We already did that topic. I wasn't here. I know you weren't.
So let me keep talking. Let me interrupt me when I'm speaking.
Let's watch him fight.
Sacrifice your family. Learn how to sacrifice your family the way LeBron does. LeBron is going to have to inspect Luke Cornett's pillows and mattresses and see if those are kind of.
That's a great point, AOH. Are those actual pillows that he can actually sleep on? Are they certified pillows?
But seriously, the Spurs have to cut him immediately.
Before we move on from the family thing, shout out to something Scorpio. I think Pink Lady Scorpio, because I was going to bring this up. That man was dancing his butt off at that Jay-Z concert with no family in sight.
Was he
No,
really?
not. Yeah. Oh, he was right in the middle of the crowd, all the attention, dancing his butt off with his noticeably gray beard to further illustrate that he's old. We get it. Blah blah blah. But shout out to Pink Lady Scorpio. I was going to bring that up. This man wants to spend all this time with his family. You don't think his kids want to go to a Jay-Z concert?
I didn't know he was there. And let's be real, LeBron James ain't no Jay-Z fan. LeBron James was going there so he could be in the spotlight.
Yes, exactly. Throwing diamonds up and stuff. What are we doing? What are we doing?
I bet you if you asked LeBron James to name one Jay-Z album, he wouldn't be able to name it. And they were there to celebrate, the anniversary of his first album. I bet you, LeBron, name an album of Jay-Z. Name your favorite song. He wouldn't even know what to tell you. He'd name a song from a different artist. He don't know what he's talking about.
He'd say Ether. I promise you he would say Ether. He would get all confuddled and say Ether.
You think we're talking about AZ, not Jay-Z. You don't know what he's talking about, man. Dude, it's corny as hell. LeBron James so corny, man. I told you. He's fake as hell. And we've seen that time and time again from LeBron James. How many times you see videos of LeBron James years ago trying to, word a rap song? He chops it all up. How many times have we heard LeBron James trying to say a saying? He chops it all up.
Well, even his entire personality is a misrepresentation. Like, he pretended to be reading the Malcolm X book. They asked him about it. He knew nothing about it. He likes to say his favorite movie is The Godfather. I just want one person to sit his ass down and let's talk about the fucking Godfather. That is an incredibly nuanced movie that he has not seen and he doesn't know.
Robin, you said it's Jay-Z, not AZ. I don't know if I could ever move past that, bro.
Yo, shout to AZ, man.
Oh, shout out to Area 51. Shout out to AZ.
Oh, my goodness, man. So lame. LeBron James so lame, man. I tell you, man, just corny as hell. Everything he does, like you said, it's just fake, man. And what do I always say on my channel? I say the same thing. Real, recognize, real. And there is no truer statement, guys, in life. Because if you know what that means and you understand what it means, then you know what it means. And you know LeBron James is not real. And the reason why we know he's not real is because we are real. We're being real here. LeBron James ain't never been real. When's LeBron James been real? The dude's lying. We just talked about him coming to the post game with the fake cast. That's not being real, dude. Because if you remember the reports out of that hand injury, he hurt his own hand with a self-inflicted slamming his hand into the blackboard in the locker room. And why did he do that? Why was he so upset at the game one of the NBA Finals, guys? Because of J.R. Smith. I mean, my God, man. So you sacrificed your hand because you were frustrated with J.R. Smith when you should have been frustrated with yourself because you did not have J.R. Smith prepared for that moment, man.
So I got to read this super because it was relevant to what we were talking about. Jimmy James says, Cornet has a chair in the corner of his bedroom.
Wow. Wow.
That's good. That's good.
Whoa.
All right. And while I'm at it, I might as well check out this super. Johnny Mac 23 coming through again. It's amazing that LaSuss fans say we're hating on a black man, but this is the same fan base who has zero issues criticizing Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, and both of them are billionaires.
So let me just speak on that real quick. Shout out to Dart. Shout out to Michael Jordan fans are the best. I bring this up in defense of AOH, even though he doesn't need it. When I first started coming on here, I used to have to sit and listen to people say, well, AOH is just hating on a black man, blah, 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 blah. But what about all of the other black men that take 97% of the roster spots in the NBA that we talk about? What about them? This whole hating on a black man thing is tired. And Draymond Green is guilty of it. Kendrick Perkins is guilty of it. Rich Paul, LeBron, anybody in his circle will jump right to that the second you have anything negative to say. But the simplest argument is, okay, yeah, but what about all the other black athletes that we big up the rest of the time? And that should dead that argument. But for some odd reason, we live in a time where that's not enough.
Did I mention that Larry Bird is better than Michael Jordan?
Well, how dare you? How dare you?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
How
I just
how
figured.
dare you?
I just figured I better
Brother?
switch from Jordan to Bird for color's sake.
Yeah, yeah. Just like
And
you
listen,
guys to do that.
if there are people out there that think that Larry Bird's greater than Michael Jordan, I have no problem with that, man. I respect Larry Bird's career. I respect his game. I respect that he went about his business. Hell, I even respect Larry Bird as a head coach. He was actually a very good head coach. So I have no problem with someone thinking that. When people make it about race or they talk about, this black man stuff, it's cringe to me. It's really laughable because, like you said, Speed, not only do they talk about other, black players in a negative way, but think about the disgusting things they say about Michael Jordan's father being murdered. I mean, when these people talk about Michael Jordan sometimes, they say some of the most despicable, disgusting things I've ever heard in my life. I was listening to a podcast a couple months back. I can't remember the name, but it doesn't important. But this one guy was talking about how Michael Jordan doesn't care that people get killed for his sneakers. Think about what you have to think to say something out loud like that on a podcast. That Michael Jordan doesn't care that people get killed for his sneakers. People have implied that Michael Jordan is the problem. Oh, look at Michael Jordan's sneakers. There are people getting killed in the streets, and they blame Michael Jordan. This is the standard that Michael Jordan held to. He has to be responsible for every kid, every person in the world and what they do. Not the parents of these children, not the parents of these people. It's Michael Jordan's fault. They'll say Michael Jordan's sneakers cost too much money, as if LeBron James sneakers are cheap, as if any of these guys' sneakers are cheap. None of these guys' sneakers. Let's get one thing straight here, guys. It's going to cost money to buy a pair of Michael Jordan sneakers. But Michael Jordan has earned that. Why? Because of who he is. So you're not just buying a pair of sneakers. You're buying Air Jordans, my man. We all know when you put the Air Jordans on your feet, they make you feel a certain way. You know how many times I tell you guys I'm on vacation right now, on the boardwalk down in Wildwood. I wore the Gammas the other day. I posted a photo. This is the first time I wore them. My wife bought them for me for Christmas. I just wore them for the first time 2 days ago. I wore them. You know how many head nods I got? And everyone knows, all the black folks out there, you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the head nod, right? You walk down the street, they saw your feet. They saw the feet, and they gave you the head nod. Why? Because they acknowledged what you got on. Ain't no one ever going to walk by you and give you the head nod because you got LeBron's on your feet. Ain't no one ever going to be like, yo, I see you. You know how many head nods I got, y'all? You know how many looks I got?
But no, that's an incredibly valid point because not only do Jordans make you feel good, they make other people feel good when they see them on your feet.
Yup.
I get that all the time. I was going to say, because of my injuries, I have to walk with a walker. It doesn't mean I'm not going to wear my fucking shoes.
They got the J's on.
I was going to say, so I'll be wearing my Jordans. I'll be wearing my SB Dunks, whatever, and I get the nod. It makes
not for
good,
nothing.
It makes them feel good.
Not for nothing. Jordan and Kobe still owns 87% of the market cap in terms of sneaker sales in the U.S. So that other 13% is LeBron's, Curry's, and Ja Morant, who I can't stand Ja Morant, but his sneaker sells. So as much marketing as Nike, it's a pretty, his sneakers are, they're pretty nice, I gotta say. But for as much as Nike puts into marketing with LeBron, he owns less than 13% of a market cap. When his sneaker comes out twice a year, he's going against Jordans that just re-release. So we're not talking about a new silhouette, right? We're talking about retros that come out once every couple of years that people are fighting themselves in the street for. If that's not a testament to somebody's just like staying relevant, I don't know what else to tell you.
Well, and I think LeBron released 6 different colorways in a 6-month period.
Yep.
He was releasing one almost every month. From the hurt,
and they're all tied to different. They're all tied to different little ways of trying to convince people of stuff.
And people still don't buy them.
Nope.
Right.
Unless you're at Marshalls or TJ Maxx.
And you know what's really unique about, something like the Michael? I mean, listen, there are different kinds of footwear. And sometimes, what part of the country you're from or what part of the world you're from, then footwear might be different, right? Maybe if you're on the West Coast, you might, think differently. Like I remember when I was young in New York, the Air Force Ones is a staple. You have to wear and have a fresh pair of all white Air Force Ones. You needed a clean pair. But I remember on the West Coast, they were wearing the Air Cortez. That's what they wore on the West Coast, Air Cortez. We didn't wear these as much on the East Coast. So like I said, there are different sneakers, right? Different, styles for different areas of the country. The thing that's unique about Michael Jordan sneakers is that it don't matter if you're on the East Coast, the West Coast, down south, up north, if you're from a hole in the wall, if you're from an urban setting, if you're from the suburbs, if you're from the country, if you're from a farm, you're going to be seeing people rocking Jordans from all walks of life. You'll see old people. I saw a guy yesterday, guys. This is a true story. I almost took a picture of this. I didn't have my phone on me, though. I saw this guy on the boardwalk last night, right? And he was this guy looked to me, he had to be almost 70, maybe in his 70s, old white dude with a long white beard, right? He had a pair of Air Jordans on his feet, y'all. Air Jordans. And I got to tell you, them Jordans was clean. They were clean as hell. So again, it don't matter where you're from, what walk of life you're from, what color your skin is, you're going to be rocking them Jordans, and you know that.
No, they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere.
Yep. And think about it. You can't even play basketball in half of them joints. Try to play basketball in the Air Jordan 2s. Try to play basketball in the Air Jordan 3s. Try to play basketball in the Air Jordan 1s. You're going to be jacked up. So when you think about the Jordan sneakers versus the Kobe Bryant's, for example, I balled in Kobe's. I balled in Jordans before. And a lot of the models of the Air Jordans are not for playing basketball in necessarily. But when you think about it, Michael Jordan played basketball in the sneakers.
Hey, was the 70-year-old white man you're talking about, was that AOH?
No, this guy's beard was like Santa, man. I'm telling you, if you looked at him, you would have you wouldn't have thought that he would be wearing Michael Jordan sneakers. But yet, he was wearing a Giannis Antetokounmpo jersey, and he had the Michael Jordan sneakers, man. I can't remember what number. I want to say they were the 6s that he had on his feet. All right, the ones that Jordan won the first championship in, I believe, or maybe the second, maybe the first championship. I think it was that model. I can't remember if that's a 6 or the 7s, whatever one it was. But he had those on, the green colorway. It matched the Milwaukee Bucks jersey he was wearing. The whole outfit was fire. And this dude, I told you, he looked like he was going to go weed whacking somewhere, man. You know what I'm saying? In a pair of camouflage pants or something.
See, what's funny, you mentioned the Air Cortez. I've never known them as Air Cortez. We always called them G-Nikes on the West Coast.
Ah, okay.
I was gonna say, so when you said Air Cortez, I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is, but I thought I knew the shoes that you were talking about, and they were the exact ones. But we never called them that. They were always called G-Nikes because it was gangsters wearing them.
Word, exactly. I remember, if you remember a lot of the films back in the day, those, gangster movies, or the ghetto, the movies from these ghetto places and these really tough neighborhoods, and you see like American Me. Have you ever seen the movie American Me?
Oh yeah.
A lot of the Mexican gangs and stuff like that, they lived in those sneakers.
It's true.
High socks up to the knees, the long shorts. Hey, SA. You know the deal.
As a Mexican, I relate to all of that way too much. If you saw pictures of me in the 90s.
This is spinning out of control.
Yo, shout out to Mexico.
Where are we? What's happening?
We're in America.
I was going to say anything dealing with fashion or coolness, we're losing AOH.
I saw you put up another video. I was going to say, do you want to check this out?
Well, you haven't done Speem's topic or Robbins, or have we done Robbins? Which one?
I already rambled off a bunch of things here.
I agree. Shut up.
Fucking hell.
Go do another line. Go do another 8 ball.
I'm hosting. I'll do what I want. Let's watch.
Do what you want, Siberius. This is we're going off the rails here.
Chasing the ring, you hear these things like, why do we have to chase? He got 4. There's nothing to chase.
Shams reported that it was the Brown trade that really brought the Sixers into the mix here.
He's not chasing the ring. You hear these things like, why do we have to chase?
Shams reported that it was the Brown trade that really brought the Sixers into the mix here.
He's not chasing the ring. He's not chasing the ring. He's not chasing the ring.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Okay, so
whose video is this?
This is Gary 828.
I've never seen somebody look so much like Earthworm Jim in my entire life.
Yo, great name drop. That's a great video game.
He looks like a
Back to
worm.
Super Nintendo.
He looks like a worm. Like, you can't place it better than that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
LeBron is not chasing a ring, but that is one of multiple lies Rich Paul tells during his recent interview with ESPN, and I'm going to break down the cap.
Obviously, it's not just the Warriors that have their hat in the ring for LeBron. Cleveland, Miami, Shams has been reporting Minnesota, Philly. I don't know, would you throw Denver?
But he's not ring
up
chasing.
there?
Okay, so Hannah.
I know exactly. Clear your throat, Hannah. What in the hell you been into? Rooting in the garbage?
Storm, current host of NBA Today on ESPN, had LeBron James's agent Rich Paul on to talk about which team LeBron may play for next year. But Rich Paul was very vague and danced around answering any of her questions. I
Rich Paul was
previously
vague?
made this video about the way NBA Today put on a clown show for LeBron and the media circus that follows his every move. And I went into detail how odd it was for Hannah Storm to be so overly enthusiastic to the point.
The video that this is from is good. Like, he clowned the shit out of her and the rest of them. Like, they weren't talking about anything, and they acted like it was the most amazing information they had ever heard.
Very phony and performative. And I admit, I was a bit surprised seeing her tap dancing for LeBron the way she was, considering I remember her from NBA on NBC during the 90s when we were witnessing actual greatness. And then once I saw this interview she did with Rich Paul here, her mask started to slip a bit and I could see through the facade. She's just being a professional for her job and following ESPN.
We're going to make fun of Rich Paul in here in a second, in case you guys wonder what we're getting to.
ESPN's objective. But if you know anything about psychology, you can watch her body language from this interview and see how annoyed she is under the surface. All right, now that I've laid out the context, let's get to the interview.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, where are you in this process? Like, as of today?
He's already being evasive on the first question. Where are you in this process seems like a pretty simple and reasonable question, but you're going to see him avoid going into detail or providing any kind of insight on the situation. And the more he does this, the more she's going to press him throughout this interview. They had some technical difficulties here, so I'll skip to the part where he responds.
Are you still taking pitches?
Pitches, I don't know about pitches, but you know, listen, I think there's communication from players directly to him, and obviously I handle it from an organization perspective. But look, I think it's admirable the way he sought after today, and it's a testament to his hard work. And so,
this is a repeat of what he said on the Pat McAfee show. Oh, it's so admirable that he's being pursued at 42. And what does communication mean? Like, could you use a more vague word? Like, they said, hi, hey, hope you're having a good summer. You know, you want to go golfing. I mean, you can take it any way that you want to. And Rich Paul can come back later and be like, well, I never said that they were recruiting him. I just said that there was communication.
See how he completely
It's tampering. It's the definition of tampering.
avoided a simple and direct question.
Are you still taking pitches?
He says he doesn't know about pitches, but there's communication between LeBron and other players. But he won't definitively admit or deny LeBron accepted pitches, in which I think we all know that he is. Then Rich Paul completely shifts the conversation away from her question and starts glazing LeBron about being sought after and a testament of his hard work. The topic at hand wasn't about LeBron's work ethic or how much he sought after. Therefore, why did he feel the need to bring this up? Is it possible Rich is trying to create the illusion LeBron is being sought after?
I had a more basic thought. Rich Paul hasn't shut his mouth all summer. Why did ESPN need to interview Rich Paul? What were we missing? Who was lacking hearing from Rich Paul that ESPN said, you know who would be great? You know who we haven't heard from in a while?
What does Ja Rule think about this? It's the Chappelle. What does Ja Rule think about this? That's exactly that. Who cares?
Like, could you shove more of the exact same shit with different condiments on the side down our throats?
Well, especially because even though Rich Paul has been talking a lot, he's been saying very little.
Yeah, he
So
talks
what is he
constantly.
adding to this?
Yeah, it's worthless, zero content noise, and they want even more of it. Make that make sense.
Right. He talks like LeBron James. He doesn't say anything.
Do you have more no information to waste our time with? Yes. Okay, we'll have you on tomorrow.
Yes.
AOH, how funny would it be if that's exactly how they phrase it? Rich Paul, how would you like to waste our time today? It just be open and honest about it.
Oh, well, you want the depressing version? It's, hey, do you see what these dipshit LeBron fans are eating up in social media? Why should we make any effort? They love this worthless content. I mean, that's probably the dark reality.
I don't understand how they can say that he's not chasing any rings, right? They want to emphasize this. And then they proceed to put up 5 teams that would make it basically a stacked team. It would be a team that he has a chance to win a championship on. Like I said, how come we ain't see the Clippers there? How come I ain't see the Charlotte Hornets there? How come I ain't see the Brooklyn Nets there? Right? How come I don't see those teams? Show me those teams. Oh, LeBron James team, I'll go to Brooklyn and turn that franchise around. Let me know when that happens, my man. Because you ain't never done that. You ain't never gonna do that. So for this whole thing to be like, oh, it's not about the rings or the championships. It's about the, love of the game and he wants to be happy. That doesn't make any sense. Because like we said, you've been playing all these years and there's no one that can argue and tell me that LeBron James has been playing for the love of the game and LeBron James has been playing to win or because he just wants to be happy. How did LeBron James play? Did LeBron James look happy to you when he plays basketball? He don't look happy to me. He's always doing this. He's always going like this. He's always looking frustrated with something or somebody or a situation. Every time I see LeBron James, he looks annoyed.
The only time he looks happy is when he's about to get to talk about himself in the post game, or he's doing his stupid dances before the game and he knows the camera's on him. If it's about him, or he's doing his handshakes or something that's about his stupid documentary. But yeah, as far as the game, no, you're not going to find him.
Think about his teammates, guys. We've seen many video footage or many photos. We've seen the videotape of LeBron James' teammates on the sidelines in games, looking completely dejected, looking completely fed up. Remember Russell Westbrook? Remember all these guys? We've seen the photos. Remember Luka Doncic's face. Everyone's got like this. Everyone just looks like they don't want to be there anymore. What's crazy to me is that when you think about Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and the dynamic between them, all these years later, Scottie Pippen says that he didn't like Michael Jordan. They weren't that good of friends, all this stuff. But when you watch the video footage of them on the court, I never saw Pippen look the way that I saw Luka Doncic look last season. I never saw Scottie Pippen look the way I saw Russell Westbrook look a couple of years ago. I never saw Michael Jordan's teammates look the way that LeBron James' teammates have looked throughout his career. They have continued to take the blame, the burden. Everything falls on them. Think about the JRs. I just saw a clip of J.R. Smith still talking about the 2018 finals in game 1. He's still trying to explain himself. He was on a podcast talking about what his mindset was during that play. This is sad stuff. He should never have to be talking about this all these years later, but he has to because LeBron James put him in that spot.
Well, and it's a very valid point that you make, Robin, because I don't know if you guys, I mean, I try not to watch a lot of basketball, but when LeBron was out with sciatica and Luka and Austin Reeves were playing together, there appeared to be joy on that court.
Yep.
I was going to say the smiles, the energy, like the camaraderie between that team. And as soon as he came back, gone.
Exactly. That's a great point, Cybers. And AOH has put out video footage of the Lakers when LeBron James is not there. A high five. I mean, they look like the Showtime Lakers. They're having a good time. They're high fiving. I mean, they're doing all kinds of stuff. And it looks authentic and genuine. The problem when you look at LeBron James when he's having a good time with his teammates on the bench and they're playing bottle flip on the bench and they do these little things. Yeah, man, LeBron James is a good teammate. He has this over his house and we had a Halloween party at LeBron James' house. That's fake, guys. That is not true. That is not fake. You can't tell me that LeBron James loves his teammates and then we see Kevin Love having to go see a psychiatrist. It doesn't make any sense.
But Robin, they memorized all those cool handshakes. Don't you think that handshake was enough for Kevin Love to, bring himself out of that deep pit that he was in and just realize that life was worth living? So hot take here, but something I'm surprised hasn't come up, at least in my opinion. Why hasn't anybody floated the idea of LeBron just taking his two sons and going to the Big Three League? Seriously. Bronny's so great, right? He's better than 95% of the league or whatever number he gave. Go to the Big Three. Go prop that up. Go play with your two sons. You love basketball. You love your family so much. Go play in a league that's still developing but has a lot of juice right now. Go lift that up. If you're not ring chasing no more, go do that. Or do you realize maybe I can't win there, just like the dunk contest? I don't want to enter something I know I can't win.
Dude, they would be the fastest team eliminated in history.
It was the box office, though.
It's interesting that you bring that up, Speed. Now, I've never watched the Big Three, so I'm not going to sit here and act as if I know, all these intricate details about the league and how it's played and all that stuff. But I will say this, man. The Big Three needs to do something about guys like Deshaun Stevenson. They need to do something with guys like Michael Beasley. Right? These guys are out there making the Big Three, just look like a ghetto league, looking like a trash league. These guys are always fighting. They're always arguing. They're doing a lot of dumb stuff in the league. And it's like I said, to me, in my opinion, it's taking away from the league. Do you think that LeBron James is going to help lift up the Big Three? There's no freaking way. So I don't know if Ice Cube has a connection with LeBron James. And, maybe they've talked about him maybe playing there when he retired or something like that or any of these kinds of things. But to me, the league needs to get control of itself because, like I said, a lot of the highlights and the videos that I'm seeing on social media is not a good thing, man. So, Lance Stevenson and the other guy, Beasley, and some of these other guys that they have, it's, every time you turn it on, it's a fist fight or an altercation. It's not basketball. So, again, man, I don't know what the Big Three is doing, man. So to bring in LeBron James and his two sons, to me, would be counterintuitive to what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but maybe they'll get punched in the mouth a bunch. Then everybody wins. Everybody wins.
You can't punch the king. The king. We all know everybody's scared of LeBron James. He's tough. You don't want to mess with LeBron James, man. LeBron James will get in your face and do nothing.
I think we have some new supers, Siberius.
Yeah, we do. I was going to say I was just going to get to those. All right. Mr. Shanny 82 yet again. That video is blocking it. I'll try to read it. Interesting that you mentioned Nas. 93Z has an old video where he was at a Nas concert and got no attention. Yeah, he was there for attention, and literally everybody was avoiding him. It was actually pretty fucking hilarious.
The man got booed at the Super Bowl. My God, think about who you gotta be and how you gotta be to get booed at a Super Bowl. Does anybody think that if Michael Jordan showed up at a Super Bowl and they put him on the big screen or they showed him, you think people booing Michael Jordan? And you don't even got to be a Michael Jordan fan or Bulls fan or basketball fan. But Michael Jordan would never get booed. He has never gotten booed. But LeBron James gets booed multiple times, multiple places. We saw that when we went to New York. They told him to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, that's crazy to get booed at the Super Bowl. It really is.
It is.
Well, you know what would be? Go ahead, Zacharias. My bad. I'll wait.
Oh, I'm just going to read this super real quick. Johnny Mac 23. Don't forget LeBron threw Kyrie under the bus when Kyrie was in unfair.
Yep.
I can't. Unfair trouble for just a simple retweet. Yep. Damn near got him blackballed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great one. Shout out to Johnny Mac 23 because
Thank you, Johnny.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I'm saying LeBron James had an opportunity to stand up for his friend, or supposedly his friend, but he didn't. It reminds me of the situation with Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. and it was years ago, and I posted the video a while ago of Michael Jordan being asked they were asking Michael Jordan hard questions about Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf and him not coming out for the anthem. We all remember that time. And Michael Jordan did not say, next question, I have no comment. I got nothing to say to that. It's not my business. He answered the question tactfully. He answered it very classy, like Michael Jordan always did. And also, he stood up for Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf and said he should be able to practice any religion in this country. I thought this is America. Shouldn't you be allowed to believe and practice any religion you want? So for them to try to turn Michael Jordan, use that time and try to get Michael Jordan back into a corner and get him to slip up and say something, Michael Jordan stood 10 toes down and stood up for Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, and he had no reason to. He didn't have to do that, but he was the face of the league, and he took the responsibility and that burden. And again, he made a great statement about Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. He did not throw him under the bus. He did not say, I don't know what this guy's doing, man. We don't want guys like that in the league. No, he stood up for him and said he has every right to do this. This is America. And he should not be ostracized. He should not lose his job. But he also said this could cost him.
Maybe it wasn't even Jordan standing up for the player. He was standing up for America and what America stood for. It was freedom of religion.
Yeah.
It was not founded on a
You guys think
specific
that LeBron
religion.
James would ever be asked a hard question like that? You think LeBron James going to stand up because he didn't stand up for Kyrie Irving in that regard? And you're supposed to be one of Kyrie Irving's boys. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf wasn't a teammate of Michael Jordan. He had no reason to be that loyal to him. So like you said, AOH, he took it even a step further and made it about America and what this country is supposed to be about.
Robin, he couldn't even answer a question about a book that he was reading that was directly in front of him. You want him to answer something about any kind of social activism? And to your point, this is another reason I kind of want to see him go to Philly. Shout out to my boy 24 Rapture. We have a close friend that's from Philly. We make fun of him all the time. Those fans are vicious. And I'm wondering if that's part of the reason LeBron hasn't gone there yet, because they booed Donovan McNabb when he got out of the Super Bowl, and they threw batteries at Santa Claus. So what do you think they're going to do to somebody who fails all these championship promises? Look at Ben Simmons, shell of a man, right? I wonder if that's part of his hesitation with going to Philly, is those fans don't play with that. So now if I retire in Philly, okay, who am I going to be compared to? Because you think they're going to embrace him more than Allen Iverson? No. And that's just over the last 20 to 30 years, let alone all the other legends they have. So if he goes there, they're throwing batteries at him. They're throwing his shoes at him. They're throwing whatever they can at him. And he's not going to be able to grab a ref, like a battered spouse, and pull him over and say, this person's got to go. Like, Philly's not doing that. It's not like Los Angeles or anywhere else. So I wonder if that's part of his hesitation.
That's an excellent point, because Philly goes harder than New York does.
They're psychopaths.
I was going to say they're literal fucking lunatics. And
yeah.
I mean, didn't they boo a young kid that was singing the national anthem?
Probably.
I mean, I think it was like a 7-year-old kid, and they're like, boo. So, I mean, his fuck ass isn't going to be able to take that.
Right, so if he goes to Philadelphia, the Philadelphia fans are going to have to sell their integrity to cheer for LeBron James. That's essentially what they're going to have to do. Even if you think about Jaylen Brown trying to recruit LeBron James to the Sixers, that's cringe as hell, dude. Come on, Jaylen Brown, where's your self-respect, man? Where's your pride at? Again, where's your honor and integrity? Why would you want LeBron James to come to your team when we've all seen that LeBron James doesn't help you win? In that regard, Jaylen Brown's going to take a step backwards. Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, you think he's going to develop and learn anything playing with LeBron James? And I believe that Tyrese Maxey is actually represented by Clutch.
Hey, you said, Philly wouldn't tolerate LeBron grabbing a ref, which I hope that's true. But I'll ask you this. Prior to last season, what town was going to tolerate that? Like, things just keep getting worse every year. There wasn't ever no one says we have an open policy that our favorite player can manhandle a ref. It just the rules keep changing for this piece of trash.
I mean, you guys remember when Jaylen Brown, he got caught with his hair wiping off on the player's jersey? There was a scene there where they had Jaylen Brown call LeBron James up on the cell phone And he was like, hey, LeBron, I need some tips about the hair stuff, man. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is corny stuff, dude. Imagine if LeBron James goes to Philadelphia. You're going to have Joel Embiid and LeBron James on the same court. Yo, that's going to be a lot of flopping, guys. You're talking about guys who are almost 300 pounds. These two big dudes, Joel Embiid and LeBron James, man, who fall down more than anybody in the history of the sport. They fall down more than Allen Iverson in Philadelphia. And I tell you guys, Allen Iverson didn't fall down. He got knocked down. LeBron James falls down. Joel Embiid falls down. They throw themselves down the floor. So you're going to get LeBron James and Joel Embiid in the same court, and the Philly fans got to deal with this stuff. I told you guys a story, right? When I used to work in the jail, there was a guy that worked there with me who was a hardcore Philadelphia Eagles fan. He had season tickets to the Eagles, lived in New York, and he would drive to these Eagles games. This guy had Eagles jerseys, everything. And I remember one year he asked me, hey, Robin, you want to come to the Eagles stadium and watch them play the Giants? He had a ticket. He offered me a ticket. He knew I was a Giants fan. He asked me if I wanted to go watch the Giants play the Eagles in Philly. And he told me, he gave me a warning. He said, listen, if you decide to come, do not wear any Giants stuff. Don't wear a Giants jersey. Don't wear a Giants hat. Don't wear a T-shirt. And he goes, watch what you say at the game. And the reason why he was telling me this was to protect myself and him. Because he said, listen, there was a time that I was at one of these games. There was a Giants fan there, and they made the guy leave. They wouldn't let him sit there and watch the game. They heckled him. They berated him. They were throwing soda and chips and all this stuff on the guy at the freaking game. The guy was forced to leave. So when you talk about going to some of these stadiums, some of these arenas, you have to be very careful about who you're cheering for, because these people are serious.
Thanks everybody for the supers, by the way, and for all the comments. But thanks, special for continuing to support with the super chats.
Yeah, here, let me read this last one. NBA was better in the sands. Is the doc going to be called The Last Injection?
That's a good one. That's a great title right there. That's awesome. That's really authentic and original.
I think LeBron probably
we
needs.
got another one here. Let me finish
The last
before we
movie.
move on. Remember, Burger King caught COVID. They still let him play and practice in 2020, but crucified Kyrie for not wanting to take the vaccine.
Actually, I didn't remember that LeBron got it.
Oh, he did?
Gracious.
He did get the
once again, man, shout out to all you guys that continue to come through. Like my man AOA said, man, we really appreciate you guys, supporting our live shows and hanging out with us for a little bit, talking about some of this nonsense, man. And it's, like I said, it's really sad that this is what, has been the NBA offseason, where 41-year-old LeBron James is going to play. But we've seen this man, and we know that he should have been retired years ago.
All right,
I mean, I can't believe the itinerary that I just freaking read off for LeBron James this week. This man is never going to see his family ever again, and then talks about how he doesn't see his family.
He's absolutely in love with
AOH,
himself.
you never answered the question of whether or not you thought he was homeless or this was all pre-planned.
Oh, I said on Sunday that based on history, based on LeBron's moves in history, he's already had the whole thing planned out, and this is nothing but drawing attention to himself. And then I admitted it's nice to think that he's homeless, and there's definitely evidence to make you think that he's homeless. So I'm tempted to think that, but I just think if I'm a pessimist, so the fact that I want him to be homeless tells me that no, it's probably not that good.
All right, shall we carry on with the video?
Sure.
Yes.
He actually is. I think Rich tries to cover up a lot of things in this interview.
We're taking this thing very seriously, but at the same time, we're having fun. I think it's great for the fans.
How is this great for the fans? The media
What is he talking
hyping
about?
every basketball segment up about what irrelevant team LeBron would go to lose in the first or second round of the playoffs.
It's misleading fans. It's misleading the new generations of fans to tell them that this is what basketball is about. We didn't suffer through this shit in the past.
No.
How are you supposed to be a serious basketball player, by the way? How is a team supposed to prepare? Just if I want to go to a team, how am I helping them by hanging this over their head for the next
Yeah.
3 to 4 weeks. How are you supposed to build a roster?
Like I said on Sunday, some of these guys are already at training camp.
Yeah.
LeBron, I mean, they're already developing chemistry.
Right.
That's just not good for fans.
Listen, I'm a Pittsburgh guy, right? Steelers guy. And I have to deal with Aaron Rodgers being held over my franchise for the last 3 years. And it's disgusting because it's like, bro, make a decision. This is pointless. This serves, if you really love your sport, this serves no purpose at all.
And this is multiple years of him not producing anything, and there's still being hype over him. He's becoming the LeBron James of the NFL.
Correct. Thank you for giving that context. That's, no production. Yeah, we might go to the playoffs, lose in the first round. Great. Shocker.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time he was relevant? I mean, it wasn't even in his last few years as a Packer.
I was going to say Green Bay
Super Bowl,
15 years ago.
Yeah,
2010,
2 decades ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He was a Jet that no one remembers.
That's true. That was a disaster.
He didn't play one.
Man.
He didn't play
Let
a second.
Go.
Yep.
Oh, I can't stand that fucker. I mean, I was a Vikings fan for 30 years. I'm not anymore because I can't stand football anymore, just like I can't stand basketball. But yeah, the whole Aaron Rodgers hype just absolutely disgusts me.
They have a lot in common.
Yeah, it's really strange. When you're talking about Aaron Rodgers, and you think about how his career is kind of like you said, like the last 5, 6 seasons or so, or 7 years of his career, how it's been kind of a disaster because it's almost like LeBron James now. Like he probably should have retired some years back after that ACL. That probably should have been it for him, but he was able to come back. But the thing about Aaron Rodgers versus LeBron James is that teams wanted him. The Steelers actually wanted him on the team. Right? The Jets wanted him on the team. He was actually being, chased by organizations at that level still. LeBron James doesn't really seem to be having any value that he's going to bring to your franchise, man. And, even if we think about Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, for example, when he was, in his, heyday making his name, how much help did Aaron Rodgers get on the offensive end a lot of those seasons, man? I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers didn't have no help. But when you talk about, LeBron James versus Aaron Rodgers, imagine if that was LeBron James in Green Bay. He didn't play with the greatest wide receivers his entire career or the greatest offensive line his entire career. They would have been crying and moaning that LeBron James needs more help back there. He's not getting enough help. He doesn't get this. He's not getting that. So Aaron Rodgers to me had I don't know if I want to say, I don't know, man. I think if you think about Aaron Rodgers' talent, and you think about, what he could do on the field, I mean, Aaron Rodgers could run, he could scramble, and he had a laser for an arm, but he's got one Super Bowl. And we all know how hard it is to win a Super Bowl because NFL and football is the ultimate team sport. I mean, you need everybody doing their jobs at a high level to win a Super Bowl. But also the quarterback, right, has a lot of responsibility, and they have a lot of, impact on what happens in a game. And to have one Super Bowl, if you think about it, the Green Bay Packers had Brett Favre and then had Aaron Rodgers right after him. And you have 2 Super Bowls to show for damn near 20 seasons of elite quarterback play, essentially. It's really kind of a letdown.
This is why the whole GOAT conversation is laughable, because I don't know if there's a bigger Tom Brady hater than me, but when you used to hear the GOAT conversation come up and you would hear Tom Brady's name mentioned with LeBron James's name for whatever crazy reason is out there, it used to infuriate me because Tom Brady has more rings than any franchise in a sport where it's by far the hardest to win. So when the two are brought up together or whatever, LeBron James tries to associate himself with Tom Brady, it runs me ragged.
You know what he's going to do? LeBron's going to go down to the G League, and they'll just spin it as Michael Jordan never did this. Jordan couldn't have done this. He's going to win at a high level in the G League.
Right.
Well, Jordan never won that in-season tournament. Don't forget.
Yeah, I know. Just add this to the list of LeBron accolades that Jordan can't do.
Right.
Beam, what was that meme or whatever that you had about LeBron in the WNBA?
Oh, yeah, here, he's going to transition so he can get Female Athlete of the Year at the 2026 ESPYs.
Jeez.
Goodness gracious.
Stranger things have happened.
Have they?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's offensive to anybody. It shouldn't be.
All right,
I
let's
mean,
continue.
did Aaron Rodgers ever get accused of using like PEDs? Did Aaron Rodgers ever get accused of cheating the game? I don't remember people talking about, some of these players like this. But this is what we've seen LeBron James do. No one ever is going to associate an Aaron Rodgers with tearing down the NFL or making the NFL worse. Even when we talked about, Tom Brady's comments last year. And the thing that I had a problem with Tom Brady is that Tom Brady made remember they were talking about the GOATs of sports. And Tom Brady went down a laundry. This man was mentioning swimmers. He was mentioning track and field athletes. He went down a laundry list of players that he considered the GOATs of GOATs. Never mentioned LeBron James. Never mentioned him. And then you remember a couple weeks later when he was there with LeBron James, he had to say, LeBron James is the greatest of all time. Anytime these guys get around LeBron James, they flip-flop it.
Well, Robin, I think you can attest to this because I'm not being sarcastic when I say this. You're by far one of the most motivational people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, right? Whenever you watch a motivational montage, like a Motiversity montage on YouTube, right? Who are the athletes you see? You see Jordan, you see Brady, you see Tiger Woods. Very rarely do you ever see in a motivational video, do you ever see a LeBron James quote or a LeBron James highlight or anything? So again, going back to the sneakers talk, the people will tell you who they think their GOAT is by the content that is released. So if I want to go be motivated by something, if I want to go watch a hype up video before I go lift or something like that, I promise you, I'm going to see more Tiger Woods highlights in a motivational video than I will a LeBron James video.
LeBron's speeches are complaints and excuses.
Well, I know, but even then, he is just taking sound bites from somebody else and regurgitating them. Anything dealing with actual original thought or work ethic comes from some person that we consider the GOAT. If it is just going to be a hashtag or some cliche or things of that nature, you can promise it's going to come from LeBron James within the context of a video. It's clear as day.
That's true. You're right. No, he don't motivate anybody.
No.
I've never heard anybody say, yo, man, that motivation, man, LeBron James give me that motivation. Think about this whole Last Dance documentary that people have been talking about that LeBron James is going to try to maybe copy. It's never going to be on the same level because it wasn't just about cameras following Michael Jordan and recording all of these things behind the scenes that we didn't know about back then. It was about the journey that they were on. This is on the 6 championships. This is 2 3-peats. This is them talking about being pushed and forced out of the organization. They're getting rid of these guys. Phil Jackson calling it the last dance because here we are, back-to-back champions, going for our 3rd in a row, and the organization says, it don't matter if I go 82-0, it don't matter what happens, they're never going to bring me back. And Michael Jordan saying, if you don't bring him back, I'm not coming back. And these people saying, all right, no doubt, we don't care about this stuff. We're going to sacrifice everything you've done for our organization because we just want to go in a different direction. It's never good. LeBron James don't got none of this going on. He's not in the midst of winning multiple championships. He hasn't won a legit championship, in my opinion, ever. I don't respect any of his championships, the way he went about this stuff. So even if he has camera crews film him, going around and filming all this behind-the-scenes stuff, it's not going to come across as authentic.
Well, no, there's no
Siberius,
way.
Just a heads up, Angry Old Hoops said he had to step away. Something about oppressing further marginalized people, but he said,
hey, bitch, I didn't leave yet. So
you're still there. Oh, okay.
And I sent that message to the guy who's the host, not you.
Robin, you're absolutely right. Because the thing was, The Last Dance was filmed to highlight the adversity that they were going through, the challenge that they were facing. It wasn't about self-aggrandizing and it wasn't about self-promotion. Had they lost that finals, I still think that documentary gets made because it was about the challenge. It was about overcoming. And it was, like you said, it's the 3rd chip in a 3-peat of a back-to-back 3-peat. Right. It is something that has never been done before. There's no way. I just don't understand how the documentary is being made. There's no way that it ends well for anybody. It doesn't end well for the production company that makes the documentary. It doesn't end well for the director of the documentary. It certainly doesn't end well for LeBron. There's no way that they can spin it. It doesn't matter how much they edit it.
Yep.
It doesn't matter the narratives or lies that they spin. It's a hack job that will end as a hack job. There's no other way it can be represented.
Right.
Because I did a video on this. Uncommon did a video on this. And we were highlighting in it, imagine all of the things you have to fucking ignore that you cannot address.
Right.
You can't talk about the PED allegations. You can't talk about all the super teams. You can't talk about all the finals losses. You can't talk about all of the negative accolades that he's accumulated with all of his longevity as far as missed shots, most missed free throws in the finals, most lost games in the finals. There's so many negative aspects of it that they can't touch on while making LeBron look good. So what's the fucking point in making it? Like, I just don't understand. I think they're aiming for something that they're going to miss and that's going to end up being a failure. But I mean, I guess, again, that's just the story of LeBron's career.
I hate to match AOH's pessimism here, but I mean, they're already doing that, Siberius. Every shortcoming that you just mentioned, fanboys don't care. They don't care about the PED allegations. They don't care about the losing record in the finals. They don't care about the clear manipulation. So once this documentary comes out, as long as it's pretty enough, as long as the CGI is great enough, as long as his hairline is crisp enough, that's all they're gonna
Bingo.
see and care about.
Spame's actually nailing it. That's the basis of the video that I recorded this morning. Is like, if you're appealing to a certain audience, it doesn't matter. Leave out what you want and make up what you want.
And that's why the documentary, if they do one, will never be seen the way it was. Listen, if LeBron James fans feel a certain way they want to watch, that's great for them. But remember, when The Last Dance came out, right, what was going on in the world? You had COVID going on. So it actually ended up being a perfect timing situation. Everybody was locked at home. People were in lockdown, just sitting home, having nothing to do. And what happens? Michael Jordan, the Bulls, come and save the day. They give you some, you know how many times I saw people talking on social media about how they couldn't wait for the next episode to come out? People were looking forward to this stuff. If you remember, during The Last Dance, what was one of the big storylines? How old the team was. That final season, to this day, the oldest team to win a championship. So when you talk about, being on fume, Siberius, you're on the money here. These guys were old as hell. They were going for a three-peat. So this is deep playoff runs, consecutive seasons at that age. You're dealing with attrition. All meanwhile, Michael Jordan didn't miss a single game during this run. How many games LeBron James missed? What are they going to do for all the games that he's missed? Is he going to do a Last Dance documentary this season and then play every single game because they're filming him now and they're recording all this stuff? When they talked about Steve Kerr, I remember hearing people say, oh, Michael Jordan said that to Steve Kerr before that shot because he knew the cameras were on him. That's one of the dumbest things I ever heard in my life. So you're telling me that Michael Jordan knew the scenario that was going to play out the way it did? No, Michael Jordan saw something during the game. And he literally said, listen, be ready. If they double team me, I'm coming to you. And Steve Kerr said, I'll be ready. And what happened? The rest is history. But he understood what the Utah Jazz were trying to do to him in the moment. And he let his teammate know, listen, man, I'm coming to you. Why? Because I believe in you.
It's true. I mean, regardless of how it plays out, I mean, like, fanboys are going to like it, sure. Modern NBA fan apologists are probably going to like it, sure. But the reality is the majority of people, like, they don't get to choose who they release it to. They can choose who they make it for, but they don't get to choose who they release it to. So if they put it on Netflix where hundreds of millions of people can watch it, which if you look at like the numbers for The Last Dance, it's probably one of the most streamed documentaries on Netflix ever.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen for LeBron.
Nope.
It's not going to be a measure of success. It's just like the starting five that we were talking about. It lasted 2 seasons. It disappeared because nobody gave a fuck. It's going to be the exact same thing. It doesn't matter who they make it for. What matters is who watches it and the backlash of those people that watched it. Because they can pretend they don't care about narratives or about reviews. They can pretend they don't care about feedback, but they do because they constantly address it.
Right.
Well, what's even scarier than that is, do you guys remember when Netflix dropped that Redeem Team documentary?
Yes.
LeBron James's face was on the cover of all of that, like the entire thing. So even if his documentary doesn't sell, which we know it shouldn't, he'll just co-opt whatever success his camp can come up with that he can attach himself to. So it kind of, unfortunately, again, to be pessimistic, it doesn't matter, because whatever he releases, and again, I'm going to bring it back to sneakers. If his sneaker doesn't sell, what's he do? He comes out with another one that looks exactly like a Kobe, and now his sneaker's selling. Just like the Redeem Team, just like the Olympics. He'll just attach himself to a different brand, become the face of said success, and then just benefit from it. It's a cycle that the NBA isn't interested in breaking because it sells tickets, unfortunately.
And Speem, it's interesting you bring up the Redeem Team documentary. And what's funny about the Redeem Team, what we learned, from a lot of this stuff, we learned that LeBron James had a babysitter in Jason Kidd who was supposed to keep an eye on him and all the things because they weren't sure that LeBron James was mature enough to be on the Redeem Team. We also heard that they didn't want LeBron James originally on the Redeem Team. We also talked about how Kobe Bryant was the leader of that team, the heart, the soul. He was the guy that was leading the way. We also heard stories from guys like Chris Bosh about Kobe Bryant. I'll never forget that story. He's like, I thought I was going to be the first one in the gym. Kobe Bryant was already there, soaked in sweat with ice packs on his knees. He had already worked out way before us. He said that we didn't know that was another level to get to. We thought we were on the highest level. No, you weren't. Kobe Bryant was on the top floor. He was in the penthouse, man. And y'all was out there in the basement, man, thinking y'all was doing something because you're hanging out with LeBron James, man. You guys are not aware of what it takes to be at that level. Kobe Bryant showed that. So if you think about the Last Dance, the documents for the Redeem Team and stuff, it actually highlighted how LeBron James was never on the level of someone like Kobe Bryant, man. And how, once again, those guys looked at Kobe Bryant differently. Dwayne Wade said the same thing. Man, I didn't know that Kobe Bryant was on another level, man. He was showing and doing things. And if you watch the games, look at Kobe Bryant in those games. What was he doing? Remember when he ran through Pau Gasol? Just put him flat on his butt. Ran right through him. He don't give a damn. Kobe Bryant going to compete, man. Remember Kobe Bryant going at LeBron James in the All-Star game? These are all moments that we remember. When you think about Michael Jordan and things that we talked about in the Last Dance documentary, one of the big things that Michael Jordan has over a lot of other players, besides the game and the accolades and all this stuff, is how Michael Jordan could speak on a microphone. LeBron James has never had that. Never had it. There's never been one time where you hear LeBron James speak and you want to sit there and listen, where you're going to turn the volume up and say, I'm going to record what he's saying right here. I could listen to Michael Jordan talk on a microphone over and over and over again for hours and hours because Michael Jordan always spoke a certain way. LeBron James lies on the microphone. He continues to promote and pump himself up. So the only reason why I think that a LeBron James documentary might be seen more than we would think it would be seen is because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to watch it so that we can make content off of the nonsense that they omit from there, the lies that they don't put out. Like you said, Steve, they're going to try to spin all these different narratives, and we're going to expose this stuff.
For sure. Well, and I think a lot of fans that aren't content creators are going to watch it because it's going to be bad, and we know it's going to be bad.
Yep. People are going to be posting clips, of this stuff, all the lies. I mean, because think about it, a documentary on LeBron James is going to be nothing but lies and narratives. That's all it's going to be because that's all LeBron James' career has been. This is why, to this day, think about when The Last Dance came out, guys. There were people making content because they couldn't believe the stories that were coming out of The Last Dance. People had no clue. What we were trying to explain to people, we used to always say, if you weren't there for it, you're never going to get the true feeling of it. And when people watch The Last Dance, people who were born way after Jordan the Bulls had done their thing, people were in awe. They were in shock about what the Bulls were doing, what they were dealing with, how they did it. People couldn't believe this stuff.
But Robin, also think about the nature of a documentary, right? Like one of the things that we love about the Last Dance documentary is it gave us insight into things that we had never seen, never experienced, or had no exposure to, because that's what the world was. Now everybody knows everything about everybody, specifically LeBron James. We know every component of his life, whether we want to or not. So what is a documentary going to show me about him that I haven't already seen and been able to deduce for myself how he is? Are you going to show some exclusive Taco Tuesday that I wasn't privy to, where he and his family, sat around the table and talked about things that I'd never seen? Because I've already seen all that, because he's the first person to show you all that. So what is the point of a documentary from somebody who already shows me everything about their life? One of the great things about, again, Jordan's documentary is like, I never heard these things. I didn't know he felt this way, because he just played basketball. Like, that's why it was insightful. That's why it was this unique piece of his life. What are we getting from a documentary that's unique about LeBron that we haven't already seen? Honestly,
that's a great point, Speed. You're right about that. The way things are covered now, it's a little bit different, as far as what, the things that were about Michael. But I mean, think about this, for example. What have we heard about Michael Jordan? I've heard many times people say, oh, I wish we had video footage of Michael Jordan in practice. Practice. I remember BJ Armstrong saying, damn, I really wish we had film of these practices, man, because you guys have no idea. I've heard these guys say that some of Michael Jordan's greatest moves were in practice.
Absolutely.
But Michael Jordan wasn't just saving his highlight moves for the on-court game, for his own fame, his own gain. He was using the moves that he would normally try to do in practice. Was so much so that guys are like, yo, I wish we had video footage of these games, because the moves that Michael Jordan was doing at some of these practices was insane. And you never hear those kind of stories from LeBron James side of things. People talked about how the practices were sometimes harder than the games. Yeah. That's called preparation, ladies and gentlemen. That's how you have your team prepared for situations. When I was in the military and you're training for something, the training has to be as difficult as it can be. It has to be as close to a live situation as possible. That's the only way you're going to be prepared for a life and death scenario. You get lollygagged through practice, through training. It matters. And you have to train over and over and over again. Why? So that it becomes second nature. Michael Jordan, the Chicago Bulls, they practice and train so hard, lifting weights. Think about the camaraderie he built with the Breakfast Club. All this is going to help the Bulls on the basketball court be a better team, have more consistency, more cohesion on the court. So these guys, Dennis Rodman, Ron Harper, all of these guys, Scottie Pippen, they were all part of these workouts, which helped push them and make them a stronger unit, man. LeBron James has never done those kinds of things for any of the teammates. You never hear legendary practice stories about LeBron James. You hear the opposite. The team doesn't practice that much. This year, you heard JJ Redick said we have to stop shoot around because LeBron James is 41 years old. I mean, this is laughable. Did they stop shoot around for the Wizards? Did Michael Jordan shut it down because his knee was all jacked up? Did he walk around on defense because he was playing on one leg? No, he played and gave the max effort. He gave everything he had, which is why he ran himself into the ground the way he did.
I mean, the beauty part of The Last Dance to me, and I've seen it more times than I'll even admit, is it showed the good, the bad, and the ugly. It wasn't just a glaze fest. It wasn't saying, look how great I am. It wasn't just highlighting, I won a three-peat and a back-to-back three-peat. It was Jordan allowing people to see the dark side of him. It was him allowing people to accuse him of being responsible for his dad's death.
Yep.
He didn't have to include any of that because he had, essentially as the executive producer and, and the main star, the ability to have final edit. To say, I'm not going to include this. I'm not going to include this. And he was humble enough, but also genuine enough to the fans as he was throughout his entire career to say, this is what people need to know. And one of the most meaningful moments in the entire Last Dance to me was when he said, I never asked anybody to do anything I wouldn't do myself.
Yeah.
So regardless of whether or not people think, oh, he was such an asshole, he was a tyrant, he punched Steve Kerr in the face. I genuinely believe Jordan would have wanted somebody to punch him in the face if he was acting the same way.
That's a great point, Siberius, and that was one of my favorite parts of the documentary as well. I mean, a lot of us have favorite parts and quotes from Michael Jordan. Yeah, that's you because you never won anything was a great line of that Michael Jordan said because it's factual. You have to remember when Michael Jordan said, "Listen, people might see this and they're gonna think that I'm a tyrant." Right? So that's part of the sacrifice that Michael Jordan made. He made the sacrifice to come across as maybe an a-hole or to be that guy. Why? Because he wanted to win. So he understood to win at that level, he had to sacrifice maybe his image, how people might feel about him 10, 20, 30 years down the road, where you have these clowns that never played sports before telling you, yeah, LeBron James is a better teammate than Michael Jordan. Look, he punched Steve Kerr in the face. And then you listen to what Steve Kerr says about that interaction. And then you find out the story behind the practice, how Michael Jordan was on the other team playing with the second unit, and Phil Jackson was trying to provoke Michael Jordan. He was trying to instigate a situation there. It reminds me of the situation on the Dream Team with Chuck Daly and how Chuck Daly used the college kids, right, as a catalyst to get under the USA basketball team's skin, right? And they talked about how they were finagling the game. And then you hear all these years later, that USA Dream Team and the kids that played against them, right? And they'll say, yeah, we beat the Dream Team. These guys really think they beat the Dream Team. They really believe that. That's how it went, man. And we all know, I mean, come on, man. That's the genius of a Chuck Daly. That was the genius of a Phil Jackson in these moments to push Michael Jordan, to get him on that edge. And again, it made the Bulls stronger. It didn't break the Bulls apart. If Michael Jordan punched Steve Kerr in the face and it destroyed the camaraderie, all of a sudden the locker room was fractured and split and they weren't able to win a championship, then maybe you could say something about that. Similar to when the book came out. Remember they made that book, The Jordan Rules. In that book, it talked about certain excerpts, and it talked about certain things that were supposed to be said in privacy, behind closed doors. And they were trying to draw a wedge between some of the Chicago Bulls players, but it never broke them up. And you remember Michael Jordan being asked these questions in the microphone. And Michael Jordan said, listen, if I'm going to be knocked off this pedestal, because I'm going to do something to be knocked off. I'm not going to let someone make up a story and say things and make out statements that I never said.
It's true.
I mean, just hell, think about LeBron James. I mentioned earlier, he's going to Time 100 Gala because he was labeled the athlete of the century. Guys, this is insane. Are we really going to sit here? And now listen, I don't know what they're talking about when they refer to athlete of the century because, I mean, this is insane for anyone to think that LeBron James has been the greatest athlete of what, the past 100 years?
So I asked this question, I don't know, a couple of months ago. What does punishment look like if it comes out, if we can prove, with fact that LeBron is taking PEDs, which we all truly believe he is, right? The athlete I immediately think of is Lance Armstrong, okay? Lance Armstrong, national hero, okay? Comes out, he's cheating. Immediately just kind of like taken out of the public limelight and just cast down to where he needed to be, right? Is that a fair expectation? AOH, I've talked to him about this several times. I think he's of the opinion of people won't care. They'll make excuses for it. But what does punishment look like to you guys if and when it comes out, that he's been obviously abusing substances this entire time?
Right. Now, I saw someone in the
what's
chat.
What's a fit punishment?
Right. No, you're right, Speed. I saw someone in the chat say that I guess it's from 2000 to 2026. And that's what I thought that they were referring to when they said athlete of the century. So by that metric, over the last 26 years, let's say, are we going to sit here and really argue that LeBron James is the greatest athlete of the last 26 seasons? I mean, this is insane to me. He's more impactful or a better athlete than Usain Bolt. He accomplished more in his sport in a more spectacular way than Bolt did. How is this even possible? Even if we mention someone like Tom Brady, how is LeBron James a greater athlete than Tom Brady? And I'm not even a Tom Brady fan. But
Tom Brady is the first person I thought of.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Right. I mean, how about Serena Williams? He's greater than Serena Williams at her sport individually versus LeBron James in his sport. Does Serena Williams have a losing record in Grand Slams? I mean, what are we doing here, man? So, and again, I'm not a big tennis person. I'm not a huge Serena Williams fan. But I know that what she did in women's tennis, to me, is definitely greater than what LeBron James has been doing in the NBA over the last couple of 20 seasons or so. Again, when you talk about the suspicions that you mentioned, Speen, if these things come out to be true, even if they're not or ever confirmed, the suspicions are true when you think about the people around him and the shady activities going on. Okay, when people say that LeBron James is the only athlete to defeat Father Time, what are you alluding to here? What do you mean? We just saw Serena Williams try to come back in Wimbledon. It didn't go as well for her. Now, we know that things are different, right? She's gave birth to kids and stuff like that and tried to come back. And tennis is an individual sport, not a team sport. So again, how is LeBron James the athlete of the century? But then again, you think about it's Time Magazine. What does Time Magazine know about sports, man? They don't know a damn thing. And apparently they confirmed they don't know a damn thing because you put LeBron James as the greatest athlete of a sport that he destroyed over the last 2 decades. So how can you then be the most valuable or greatest athlete when you destroy the sport you're playing in over these 2 decades?
Well, so to answer your question, Speem, and this is something that genuinely scares me, and Robin, you touched on it. The repercussions if he's discovered to be using his all accolades and awards should be stripped. But part of what punished Lance Armstrong was shame. And shame doesn't exist anymore because
I was going to say that's not a thing anymore.
I was going to say they will dismiss it. I was going to say because LeBron James' career has been incredibly shameful, and yet fucking Time Magazine just named him athlete of the century. How does that happen?
Right.
So
I mean,
if there is no shame, if there's no shame to be lost, if there's no, he's already been incredibly disrespectful to the game that he played, to the athletes that played before him, to the eras before him. What else can you take away? I mean, he's already stripped himself of any accomplishments because of the way that he went about them. He already stripped himself of any pride because of the way that he talks about the game. Literally, what can you take away from him in this day and age?
So actually, Siberius, I think because he and his fans care about it so much for whatever reason, because it's the most inflated statistic of all time, as far as I'm concerned, I think if you take away his all-time scoring title, that hurts him because he no longer has anything else to prop up his legacy. Because everybody knows, anybody with common sense knows that the ring argument's been out the door for the last 12 years, right? So the only thing you can say is, well, all-time leading scorer. You take that away, he has nothing as far as I'm concerned to begin with. But then he has nothing other than an in-season tournament to hang his hat on.
Yeah.
Well, and I think he'd have to be stripped of that as well. I mean, you would have to strip him of his.
That'd be pretty funny.
No, you'd have to strip him of his championships.
Yes.
I mean, if he's found out, because they wouldn't be able to say, well, he wasn't on it, for his first ring, but he was on it for his second ring. So we'll let him keep the first one, but not the second one. They're not going to fucking dice it up like that. They're just he'll be 0-10. And that's another one of the things that's constantly highlighted about him is, oh, well, he made it to 10 finals. Well, who gives a fuck when you lose 60% of them?
Right. Who says the Bills are one of the greatest football teams of all time? Nobody.
No one. It's funny that you say that because that's one that I highlight all the time. Are the Buffalo Bills touted as one of the best football teams ever, and they made it to 4 Super Bowls in a row but lost 4? No, they're a fucking joke.
No, it doesn't even come up.
And they were another stacked team, and I'm like, they did it in a legitimate way. But I mean, Andre Reed, Thurman Thomas, Jim Kelly, like, come on, man. That team was stacked, and they still lost.
Right. Yeah, no, it's really sad. Like I said, when you think about him being labeled as the greatest athlete of the century, when he's lost more than he's won, when he's taken away from the league, when you can't name a single thing he's done to lift up the league, when he's continued to not take any pay cuts, ask for max money, lollygag, walk around. I mean, listen, we just mentioned Tom Brady before. And we all know that Tom Brady played in the NFL for a long time, man. And we all know about his career. But if Tom Brady would have lollygagged the way LeBron James was lollygagging over the last several seasons, he would have never won that Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. He would have never won half them Super Bowls. But when you think about what these guys were doing and the work that they put in to be prepared, to be ready for these moments, and then raising their level of play more often than not, did Tom Brady lose Super Bowls? Absolutely, he lost Super Bowls. But he didn't lose more than he won. And in a lot of those Super Bowls, Tom Brady had to make moves. He had to make plays for the New England Patriots. And again, we're talking about football versus basketball, which are two completely different sports as far as the impact that one player can have. A LeBron James on that court. So when you're talking about the athletes that have played in all these sports over the last 26 years, how is LeBron James greater than Alex Ovechkin, for example, who still continues to play hockey at a high level? Right? Remember a couple of years back, I think maybe it was last year before, they were trying to compare LeBron James at 40 to Alex Ovechkin. And remember, PK Subban was offended by this. And he was like, listen, don't ever compare LeBron James to someone like Alex Ovechkin and the sport of hockey and what he's dealing with in that sport and the way he goes about that sport versus LeBron James. He was offended by it. Okay? Think about that kind of stuff. So there's no way I'm putting LeBron James as a top athlete over the last 26 seasons, if that's what they want to make it, over some of these. I mean, think about some of the soccer players, Messi or some of these other guys. Is he a greater athlete than these guys? And I don't even know soccer like that.
Yeah. Well, so
nobody's mentioned Bo Jackson. Go ahead. And I saw AOH said something, but I wanted to say nobody mentioned Bo Jackson. And that's an easy argument right there.
Well, like I said, they're talking about 2000 to 2026.
Oh,
so
okay, gotcha.
Bo Jackson, obviously that would be before. But it's, like I said, it's sad that of all the great athletes in all the sports over the last couple of decades here, we go to the default LeBron James as the guy. Like, to me, that's an insult to all the other athletes behind him.
Well, one person that you have to highlight that hasn't been mentioned yet is, how about Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympic athlete of all time?
Yep.
Yeah.
But a point that AOH mentioned and it's disgusting, but man, I hope it's not true. But he said they're just going to legalize ped use and say that they should have done it a long time ago, just to basically dismiss and allow LeBron to get away with what he's gotten away with. And I wouldn't even be surprised. I mean, they've done it in Major League Baseball where they've tried to diminish the impact of steroids within the game. Certain individuals haven't been stripped of their accolades despite the fact that they were caught. So it wouldn't surprise me if the next step in that process is, well, we've legalized marijuana. Why don't we just legalize ped use? Well, and a perfect example is the enhanced games. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with what
I did catch that. Yeah.
So
where
again,
it's all legal.
It's now a legalized competition where ped use is allowed. So it could easily be the first step in a chain of events that lead to now anyone can do whatever the hell they want to do.
I won't be able to understand something. Go ahead, Speed.
Okay, yeah, real quick. I think we are in for some really scary times, especially with the whole sports betting thing and a lot of these players being taken to court and found guilty of what we all know is happening. And, since Tim Donaghy in, what was that, 97? No, not 97. What year was Tim Donaghy, the Kings Lakers? Not 97.
2001?
2001. Yeah, right.
2000,
I don't know where I got 97 from. 2001. That's been prevalent the entire time I've been watching basketball. And now we're busting guys. And some of these guys are in LeBron James's camp. See Maverick Carter. See, what was that corny little guard from the Cavs? Some other nobody. Anyways, sports betting is a thing, and this is only going to get worse. You're seeing these guys take layups at the buzzer to cover or not cover. You think LeBron James is gonna not get a piece of that?
I mean,
he's been implicated. He hasn't been charged.
Well, they're never gonna charge him until he's done, until he's no longer being profitable.
I mean, think about this, guys, and everybody in the chat. If LeBron James is taking anything, I mean, regardless, if it doesn't ever come out, confirm that, regardless, if LeBron James is doing anything, it's actually sad that he's actually cheating and still losing. So this is what we're talking about. Like, I saw some people in the chat talking about Major League Baseball in the 90s and how everybody was taking steroids and all this stuff. The separate or the difference between Major League Baseball and what was going on in the 90s is that uplifted the game. If anyone remembers 90s baseball, it was insane, guys. People couldn't wait to turn on the TV. You wanted to see what Mark McGwire was going to do. You wanted to see if Sammy Sosa was going to hit in the home run. You wanted to watch Barry Bonds go out there and bang a home run, man. Those guys were lifting up the game. It might sound crazy, but the steroids actually helped Major League Baseball, man. The problem
same thing with Lance Armstrong. Won 7 back-to-back.
Yep.
He made the Tour de France popular. It was
You're right. That's a
never
great point, Cypress, about the Tour de France. Nobody was watching that stuff. Nobody was talking about bicycle riding. See, the problem for Lance Armstrong was, and you guys brought him up before, and I followed that whole thing breakdown. The problem for Lance Armstrong, and you hit it on the head, Siberius, is he had no integrity after he got caught. The man tried to throw the other guy under the bus. Remember, he attacked the other guy legally. He was trying to go after the guy that basically put him out there. Lance Armstrong went about his business the same way Roger Clemens did, a complete dirtbag. You guys want to be honest. You guys kept lying. You didn't want to come clean, even though you had all the evidence against you. I watched the entire Roger Clemens trial. That whole thing, it was absolutely embarrassing for Roger Clemens, man. They had all this damning evidence because his trainer kept all this evidence. And Roger Clemens sitting there just trying to lie and kept lying and lying and lying. Same thing with Lance Armstrong. It was so dirtbag for him to try to attack the guy who basically put him out. I can't remember the guy's name that told on him. And I mean, it was really, like I said, Lance Armstrong was a straight clown for that. But he did make the sport popular.
He did.
Mark McGwire was on The Simpsons talking about, let me hit some dingers. Like, that's how popular he was. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Sorry, Marius. Go ahead.
No, I just want to get to these supers before we get too far behind on him. Jeremy Jones, there's a photo of a clan member wearing Jordans. Fucking hell.
There you go.
Everyone gets down with them shoes. Oh, wow.
That's funny.
I mean, listen, you can't get any more hardcore than that, man.
Yeah, I mean, Verbal Kent, LeBron can only manipulate the narratives. The reality has always spoken louder than his lies. Absolutely.
Yo, shout out to Overbalking NT3447. Yo, shout out to all you guys, man, have been hanging out here.
Absolutely.
We've been going for like over 2 hours now, man. Shout out to you guys.
All right. M. Hunter Stevie, thank you guys for all the supers. We genuinely appreciate it. I feel like they won't legalize PEDs because of LeBron, because I think once he retires, LeBron himself will want the NBA to remove all the crutches he enjoyed so the future can't catch him. That's a legit point. That he would actually be against it because it wouldn't benefit him. Like, yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, it's like when they talked about shortening the season, right? That helps someone like LeBron James, right? Oh, yeah, shorten the season so that all of his records and all these things, they won't be able to reach me because we're going to shorten the season to 65 games, right? We're not going to allow these guys to do X, Y, Z. So, you talk about LeBron James, all these things. I said, it's really funny that he had all these advantages throughout his career. The trades, the free agents, the free throw help, right? The lack of officiating standard. He could travel and carry and offensive foul guys. You can take all these chemicals and you still lose more than you win. How is that possible, guys? That's insane.
I made a video about that, about how he's failed on such an epic level. I mean, only winning 17%. He has a 17% win rate for championships for his career. The longer he plays, the continue, it's going to go down. They try to put him as the greatest of all time above Jordan, who has a 40% win rate.
Yep.
If it comes to fruition that he is cheating, the fact that you were that fucking terrible while stacking the deck in your favor with teams and using performance-enhancing drugs, and you still can't win.
Yep.
While also being 6'8", 6'8", 270. For all intent and purpose of the argument, whether it's PED or not, being generally a better athlete than everybody else on the court. and you still can't pull it together to win more than you've currently won.
I mean, I want people to understand something. Barry Bonds is still regarded as arguably one of the greatest hitters in Major League Baseball history. He's argued as one of the greatest players in Major League Baseball history. And I've said it many times, Barry Bonds has almost 2 Hall of Fame careers. They try to tell you that LeBron James has, 3 Hall of Fame careers. Oh, he's got a Hall of Fame career in the first in Cleveland, a Hall of Fame career in Miami, and a Hall of Fame career in the second in Cleveland. But Barry Bonds was a legit 2 Hall of Fame careers. If you look at his Pittsburgh years, before any suspicions, Barry Bonds was legit. He played the field. He could run the bases. He could hit the ball, Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is 7-time MVP. 7 freaking MVPs for Barry Bonds, y'all. So when you talk about the suspicions around someone like Barry Bonds, man, at least that man was out there performing, and he was actually out there getting MVPs. And it got to a point that Barry Bonds was so deadly behind the plate that they never even pitched to the man. They wouldn't even pitch to the man. I mean, it's insane.
Robin, there's a Hall of Fame career between Michael Jordan and LeBron James in terms of accolades. That's something that people do not talk about. The difference between their careers is a whole Hall of Fame career in itself.
Yeah.
And Barry Bonds played. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and try to take away from Major League Baseball and where it's been over the last, 10, 20 years or so. But when you think about when Barry Bonds played the game, I mean, my God, man, there were a lot of great players there, guys, a lot of great pitchers. And like I said, it wasn't like, oh, Barry Bonds is the only guy doing this. All them dudes were doing it. And like we said, that actually lifted the game up. I'm not condoning steroids or any of this kind of stuff. You guys know I'm into health and fitness. I would never condone this stuff. But the facts remain. You can't just single out Barry Bonds, who became the poster child for the steroid era, when everybody or a lot of the guys were doing stuff. And Barry Bonds, like I said, these guys were lifting the game up, man. The game was popular. It really was.
The reality is it saved Major League Baseball. The steroid era saved Major League Baseball because it was in a downward spiral. It was turning into a game that people weren't interested in. And again, I will never, ever condone steroid use. But it elevated the game to where it's been able to get to where it is now. That it's a great game again, that people are interested in, people are compelled to watch. And it wasn't for an extended period of time. And without that steroid era, which I don't condone, they may have never made it.
Right? Exactly. Was Barry Bonds on ESPN every day saying, they got to give Barry Bonds some help out there? How come they won't pitch to Barry Bonds? This is not fair. Oh, LeBron, he's getting all this help all the time. He always needs help. He always needs everything. It's all the excuses made for him, but no one else ever got that kind of treatment, man. All right? As I said, it's insane for anyone to continue to use, what LeBron James has done in his career and then try to compare him and judge him to other great players. It's nowhere near the same.
Well, Robin, so peep this for a second, though. It's not just in the media. If you suffer through, as the resident movie buff, well, Siberius and myself, if you suffer through a movie with LeBron James in it, you will be inundated with several "he is the GOAT" references. So, and those are all movies that are made by he and his studio. So, if you watch House Party, for example, right, you'd think there's no reason to ever have basketball mentioned, but best believe by the end of the movie, he plays the dude one-on-one for some reason. You watch a movie like Trainwreck, you think there's no reason to have basketball in this movie, but you better believe he's in it and he plays the main character one-on-one. There's always reference to basketball within the context of his media, and they align it with GOAT references because they know that any serious basketball fan will tell you that that's wrong. But if you tell the general audience that he's the GOAT, if you tell the Space Jam: A New Legacy watcher that he's the GOAT, if Bugs Bunny says it enough, well, then maybe the kids will believe it, right? So it's not just there. And it's actually kind of interesting because I know Kawhi Leonard's in trouble for his whole thing with, what's the name of that company, that shell company, Aspire or whatever? Oh, yeah. The irony is, I still believe to this day that Anthony Davis got paid being in Space Jam: A New Legacy under the table, so that way he could make more as a Laker, because he's in that movie. He was a Clutch 8. He was signed to Clutch at the time. I still think that's how he was able to get more money, but also keep the Lakers under a certain cap. So it's really interesting that Kawhi Leonard's being kind of put through the ringer. You know what I mean?
Hey, Speed, you know what's funny? You brought some really great points up there about the references to basketball in some of these movies. Now, I've never seen House Party or Trainwreck before, but when you think about the Space Jam thing, one of the stories I heard that came out of the LeBron James Space Jam remake was that behind the scenes, they had a shooting contest, a competition, and LeBron James supposedly lost a shooting competition, like a horse challenge or, a around the world type of shoot around, to a female that was working on the set, right?
Yep, I remember hearing
Supposedly
that.
this woman beat him in a shoot around. Now, we all believe that, right? You believe a story like that. What are the stories that you remember hearing about Michael Jordan during the Space Jam that he made? Remember, they made a dome, the Michael Jordan Dome, during that filming. And what are the stories you hear from guys like Reggie Miller that played at that dome? They talk about the competition, the kind of games that were going on there. So when you think about some of the things that Michael Jordan's been a part of, the quote-unquote stories, the behind-the-scenes stuff, none of this stuff ever works out in LeBron James' favor.
Did anyone check to see if Ice got AOH? We haven't heard from him in a minute.
No, he'd be out there hiking in the woods, man. He might have been attacked by a coyote or something, or a mountain lion out there. I gotta get going in a little bit, guys.
I was gonna say, yeah, we've been at this for a minute, so
shout out to the chat. Shout out to 24 Rapture, my guy.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, for real, man. Shout out to all you guys that continue to come through. I see some new names out here that I'm not familiar with. So shout out to a lot of you guys for coming through and supporting us. It means a lot. I want to say a shout out to Speed for shouting out Earthworm Jim. I mean, my goodness, man. That's one of the great references. I haven't heard that game mentioned in a long time. And for you to make the correlation that Rich Paul looks like Earthworm Jim is outstanding. That was one of my favorite games on Sega Genesis back in the day. So shout out to Speem again for being here with us, man. Again, great insights today. Once again, shout out to the Real Siberius, man, for being the host again, man, and really putting this Wednesday thing together for us, man. I really appreciate what you do, Siberius, and for us on this live, man. Shout out to my man, AOH. I hope he's okay. Hopefully we'll see him and hear from him again. And a shout out to all you guys in the chat. I hope you guys continue to have a great day. You guys know that I'm on vacation, so I'm trying to do as much content as I can, but I also got to enjoy myself a little bit too. So I hope you guys have a great day, a great rest of the week, and I hope to see you guys again soon, man. Once again, man, I'll catch you guys on the next one, man.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you for all the supers, the comments. Sorry I didn't highlight as many as I normally do. I was going to say I've been slipping today. Again, shout out to the panel. Sports and Fitness Rants, AOH, Speem. Couldn't do it without you guys. And I appreciate you guys.
Stop apologizing, Siberius. You kill this every time, bro. Stop apologizing. You kill this each and every time. Don't apologize for that. You're great.
All right, I won't.
Don't do that.
Fuck you, I'm great.
There you go.
I'm the greatest of all time. I just declared it right now. All right.
That's all it takes.
I'll see you guys next week.
All right, man.
Deuces. Peace.